and now live on Facebook. We will be live in about 1 minute.
Go.
All right, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hockey Podcast. We are live here. Let's do that. There we go. We're live on YouTube. You can check us out there. We're live on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Facebook, The Hockey Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram, The Hockey Pod, at podcast_hockey. And subscribe on Apple, iTunes, Google, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. We have a big board here down the. We're gonna go here. It's like we're like a forward line. It looks like 3 lines. So on the right wing here, on the actually we'll start at the center. Center is Devin. Hello, Devin.
Hello, number one center. Good to be here.
Yes, Sean is his right winger.
Well, at least you got my handedness right. Yeah, right winger shooting the puck off the wing.
There we go. Scott, we will get Scott from the state of Hoppy, the Soda Pod, Minnesota. What's going on?
What's going on, boys? Ready to drink some beers and talk some hockey?
Yes. Now, centering the second line is Chris, who's got his lineup behind him of the Vancouver Canucks. He's got a beer. We'll get into that. And he's got breakfast, which, we will debate because I believe that breakfast is appropriate at any time of the day. And Chris is eating it as we speak.
You're here.
Yes. I am, of course, on the right and on the left from the Soda Pod. He's been a regular with us before. We were on the state of Hoppy, the Soda Pod. Isha's joined us. Hello.
Cheers, boys. I have one thing to say while we start this off.
Okay.
Shotgun Jake, baby.
Let's get us started right off the bat.
Woo! Let's go.
Cheers.
Cheers. Do we want to go to Shotgun Jake? Do we want to start with the beer? Where do we want to go?
Well, let's start with the beer. What is everyone drinking to enjoy this nice Saturday brunch episode?
I just down to Pacific Pilsner, which a lot of people, I mean, they get a bad rap here on the island. Like people say that they like Lucky more than Pacific Pilsner, and I got nothing against Lucky personally, but I think it's a pretty damn good beer for like the price out here. You know, it's reasonable for a 6 and 12 pack, and they give away some like hella merch too. I mean, I think I sported their hat for like 2 years straight before. You know how hats wear out. So yeah, shout out Pacific Pilsner.
For me, I'm drinking a Summit Seeker IPA from Banded Peak here in Calgary.
Sorry, Deb, just before you move on, for those who don't know, Banded Peak was purchased by Budweiser, Labatt's, and you'll be able to get that at the Saddle Dome whenever that is back up and running. Yeah. So,
oh, nice.
A nice local breweries. You'll be able to get that at the Saddle Dome when you go watch Flames games, Hitmen games, and anything else that gets back into the Saddle Dome once we're allowed to get back and congregate again.
I do have one question though. Can you attest? Can you validate for me? Like, there's something up with those Saddle Dome beers on tap, right? Like, my friends called them the heroin beers. Now I know that may be politically incorrect, but like, I had 2 of those, and my buddy tried to jump over the glass. He was so wasted. I couldn't believe the impact. I don't know. Like, I have my theories. What's yours?
That reputation is still there.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think the more politically correct way of calling it nowadays is the dome foam.
Okay.
It's I think it's more just the my theory is the tap lines. I think there's definitely something to do with the tap lines there. So
it's the river water going through them that's just way too old. For those you don't know anything about the Saddle Dome or Calgary, this may be over your head, but from somebody who lived in Calgary for a few years and who, had season tickets to the Hitmen and spent way too much time drinking beers at the Saddle Dome, I mean, it blew my mind the first time I tried these things.
Yeah. All right, Scott.
Yeah, boys, we're having the Kentucky Breakfast Stout from Founders. Phenomenal beer. Actually, I don't know why Wine Advocate even rates beers, but gave it 100 out of 100, which is not heard of. So I'm very much in the mindset of you guys. Breakfast, whether beer or food form, should be any time of the day.
Oh yeah,
I'm here for it, even though it's 2:00 my time and noon yours.
Yeah, I have to agree. Breakfast any time of day, it really doesn't matter.
Hell yeah.
But get some pancakes at dinner time. Nothing better.
Yeah, bacon in every meal. Let's go.
Speaking of which, my bacon and eggs rolling in any minute now.
Nice.
I'm drinking the Ecliptic from Ecliptic Brewing down in Portland. It's the Phaser Hazy IPA.
Nice.
Fucking phenomenal, boys. You should try it if you haven't tried it.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. They probably get that at Cascadia.
Yeah.
As far as beer, I'm actually going dry. I've been since the pandemic. Actually have decided to go dry mostly. I've had a couple, but I haven't really been on a binge. So, just decided no drinking. Not really into drinking alone by myself a lot. So, I like to drink with people. So I'm kind of dry, and I'm dry today. Mm-hmm. But I do love my beer. And
you have the nice background, so you're not completely dry. There's a drop there.
Yeah, so I'm related to you in the by the way, you should have Tori Peterson on from the Calgary Flames, because they have not only does she know where the good beer is in the Saddle Dome, she knows where the good eats are all over the arenas in the National Hockey League.
Oh, okay, that would be a good get, actually.
Yeah.
I want to give one honorable mention to a beer that actually Hoppy sent me a care package from Minnesota. And this was honestly, guys, the best beer I've ever had in my life. It's the Dangerous Men peanut butter porter. And it's unbelievable. I've never had a peanut butter beer before. And this wasn't overly sweet. And just like a hint of that like roasted, peanut butter flavor, in a darker, stronger beer. Like, I don't know. I'm usually not a porter or stout kind of guy. And I almost shed a tear when I drank, the last sip, because I was like, God damn it, I can't get another one of these. So just shout out to Dangerous Men. If you're ever in Minnesota or if there's a distributor around that area in the Midwest, like, check out this stuff.
Yeah, they don't distribute at all. So
All right, well, there you go. You'll have to go to Minnesota.
I've never seen a crowler before either. That thing looks massive in your hand.
I got a couple actually. He sent me a few.
his hands are a little dainty, so
And then I am drinking the 2020 Unity Brew, which was brewed out of OT Brewing here in Calgary. They are a sports themed brewery, so all their beers are named after their beers that they've brewed in house, and theirs are named after sports. So they've got everything from motocross to curling to hockey theme and darts themed names. But the 2020 Unity Brew, what they do here in Calgary is they get together with a bunch of the breweries and brew a beer. And then this year, they decided to, because it is 2020 and they can't get everyone together to do it, they did it with 5 different breweries. So there's 5 different Scotch ales that they did this year. And then the one I got was brewed out of OT Brewing. The Scotch ale for a day like today, I think, is a fantastic choice. It's a little on the sweeter side, got the nice flavor characteristics of a good Scotch in behind. So really nice beer to have. And then shout out to them, as they will be going on tap at the Pig and Duke, one of our favorite spots to go to. They're going to be on tap there for November, and you can get their Flagstick Hazy IPA on tap at the Pig and Duke starting in November. So if you're in Calgary, you want to get a good bite to eat and some good beer, go to the Pig and Duke and order some OT Flagstick Hazy Pale Ale, and then you can grab some food as well.
Man, I can't wait to get back to Calgary, because when I was there, the brewery scene was just kind of starting, and there wasn't necessarily like tap rooms or like a restaurant built into it at all at the time. It was just like you do like a brewery tour, have a sample, and then leave, and then go to your liquor store, the distributor, to buy it. But now, it just like BC, it's just blowing up. And I haven't lived in Calgary for about like 7, I guess pushing 8 years now. And yeah, so back then it was just booming. Now it's just every time, Sean, either you come on the Soda Pod or I come on here, you just keep blowing my mind and make me want to come back sooner. So hopefully, the world starts opening up a little bit where we can make that happen, boys.
It would be, I was even thinking about this. We'll get into this a little bit later in the podcast in a bit, but like when the All-Star games come back too, I would love to see like some sort of NHL craft beer festival, like just bring all of the, because we have Minnesota, we have Calgary, you have Vancouver, probably everywhere has a really good craft beer scene. And that would just, with the new generation of fans, I think that's just a way to relate to fans in a different way. I don't think, I know that yes, Molson and Labatt and all the big beer companies are the one that spend the money on the commercials, but if you get the craft beer crowd in, and especially with Seattle coming in, I think that just would be a lot of fun. And it's a great way to connect people.
And
I'd say definitely do that for the outdoor game more so than the All-Star game, because I know that's catered towards like 10-year-olds. So maybe not beer.
Oh, what is?
Well, you gotta get the parents too.
Come on, we all have drunk a beer when we were 10 years old. Like, where are we?
Jesus.
Who hasn't? Oh, wait, did I just share too much information about my childhood?
A little bit.
Well, and not to mention they had Snoop Dogg at the All-Star game dropping some F-bombs, and
man,
that was fantastic. But yeah,
that was hilarious. You could just see Gary Bettman's feet, just like this was a mistake.
What's funny, even after that, though, Snoop Dogg was actually still employed by the NHL doing content on social media.
Well, they signed Green Day, I believe, to like a 3-year deal for events, and they were like swearing on stage too during one of the the All-Star game?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
I love it.
But what I was gonna say earlier was the craft beer thing is not even just like in like northern states in Canada, like even states down in like Carolina. The Hurricanes have an official craft beer that they've done.
Yeah, our buddy who does the Canes Train podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, he goes to Carolina Hurricanes games as much as he can, and he actually in the liquor stores and stuff nearby now they have it, and so he was flaunting it to us all in our Slack chat last year.
Oh man, there's an official Kachina beer at Arizona too.
No
That's
shit.
Nice.
Mhm. Well, was it? It's Mill Street, which is actually a Toronto-based brewery, but they've got a brewery here in Calgary. They do the Sea of Haze. is
Oh, that's
also
cool.
Another one that they do for Flames, and you can get that at the Dome as well.
Yeah.
And then Stanley Park is owned by Labatt's and all
Yep.
that as well. So you can get. I know they did a bunch of specialty cans.
Grab those cans.
Chris will go get them for the Canucks. Like they're starting to get it, especially with the breweries that the breweries that's been bought out by
That's beautiful.
That's sweet.
by some of the like the Budweisers, the Labatt's, the ones that own the rights to the
Oh man, I want those.
selling the beers in the arenas. So I think it's coming. It's not going to be as inclusive as we want, but we're still going to be able to get local beers that are still really good, because Banded Peak is a fantastic brewery that makes some really good beers. And then so you add that to the Sea of Haze, and you've got some decent local content and local companies in the Dome selling beer. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on once everything comes back, and if they try and start to show that support local, which has been a big movement. I know here, I know in Vancouver, and probably all over the world. So I hope to see it as well, because I think that'd be fantastic.
The Canucks for Kids Fund, before we pivot here, just a quick note. They released this with a collaboration. I forget which local brewery it was, but it's called the Hat Trick. And the proceeds to it go to the Canucks for Kids Fund. And the can was, branded Canucks based, and they had a ton of like different cool like colored hats and stuff on it. It's a sour, and it wasn't really my cup of tea. But if you are, if you have a more adventurous palate, it's called the Hat Trick beer. It should be around, locally Vancouver. Go check that out.
Scott, what's going on in Minnesota with beer?
With beer, it's honestly been really cool to see everyone come together. Like, it's always been a pretty tight knit community for craft beer in Minnesota, but like you'd see breweries run out of crowlers because they can't bring anyone into tap rooms for 3 or 4 months there. And everyone's exchanging back and forth, making sure that everyone's able to stay afloat the best they can. I think I've honestly only seen 2 or 3 breweries go under, and it's not purely COVID. Like, they were probably kind of on the downward trend in general. So it's just very reassuring to see that like it's not going anywhere, at least as long as we can find some kind of resolution to COVID in the next year, which that might even be a big ask. Who fucking knows at this point? But no, it's pretty cool to see all the collaboration across the state.
Cool. Anything else in regards to beer that we want to talk about?
I mean, if that's how you want to spend this entire,
I mean, like we could go let's save it, and we'll bring you all on the soda pod, and we'll just do the whole episode about beer.
Well,
I definitely need an invite for that one.
That room to go. And actually, I do have one more question. What's going on in Edmonton with beer?
Well, one of the breweries that did the Unity Brew, SYC Brewing, they've been doing some fantastic beers. They're growing a lot as well. I think SYC is the one of my go-to breweries.
I would agree.
Anytime I can get them, I'll grab them. So, if I'm going to give a shout out to any brewery out of Edmonton right now, it's got to be SYC. They're doing some fantastic beers. Anything from a really nice sort of older school bitter West Coast IPAs to sours to some more of the juicy IPAs that are the trend and the popular beers out this area. So SYC, if you have a chance, go buy their beers.
I'll also give a shout out to Ale Architect as an honorable mention as well.
Since we're doing shout outs, I was recently in the Okanagan, and I've tried this new one that I've never heard before, but it's called the Penticton 7. And they're just doing a beer kind of market out there right now. And I actually luckily got a 4-pack of Tall Boys and I went back to 4 different liquor stores, and they were all sold out because they were just that damn good. So if you're ever in Penticton or the Okanagan area, check them out too. They're
Nice.
phenomenal.
Nice.
Plus, you can get your tramp stamp, right, Dev?
Oh, the tramp stamp. Oh, that was so good too. Oh my god.
Oh, I thought he was like talking literal here. I was like, oh my God, we're getting to know each other. Holy.
Whoa.
No, there's one out
What,
there
you
called
guys don't
Bad
wanna see?
Tattoo Brewing.
Yeah, there's a brewery out in Penticton called Bad Tattoo. And
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Devin,
That's smart, man. Whew.
Devin was sharing that he finally got his tramp stamp. So
Man, I'm going to have to get one too.
Should we get matching
Good.
ones?
No, because I know yours is going to say like Tavares or something. I don't want any part of that.
Whoa.
Oh, how about a Morgan Riley? We can he's from Vancouver, is he not?
All right. Well, we'll talk off air.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, that's a good pivot. We'll move in here. Let's talk about let's start with the Minnesota Wild, because we don't talk about the Minnesota Wild. So let's talk about the Minnesota Wild. Scott, it's been an interesting offseason. Marcus Johansson, Cam Talbot. My opinion, a very good signing by the Minnesota Wild, actually. Might be one of the more underrated signings of the offseason, if I could be brutally
You
honest.
should cover the logo on your shirt when you say that.
Why? I don't really, you know what? I actually think Calgary should have considered re-signing him. I think he would have been a great signing in Vancouver as well. But it went as it went. But Bill Guerin is kind of shifting the Wild a little bit here. What are you thinking? What's going on? Kind of tell us what the Wild are up to.
Yeah, and it's cute that you lead with the 2 like most questionable things that have been done in the past couple of months, when like honestly, unbiased, Bill Guerin A+ for what he has done so far with the Wild. The guy has knocked it out of the park, and it's the first time that Wild fans can honestly be optimistic about the direction of the team. Are they going to win the Stanley Cup next year? No. Will they make the playoffs next year?
Maybe.
Maybe, but I don't care about that. He's done everything he can to clear the deck. They have 5 forwards that are on contract beyond next year, and he's going to be able to do whatever he wants with that roster. He's built it from the back end up. Like, the defense is not a concern. In fact, it's to the point of strength where everyone assumes Dumba must be traded to bring in forward depth, and they're still going to be fine on that perspective. It's just going to be interesting to see who he decides is and isn't a part of the future of this team after we get through this year, whether it's trade deadline, end of season. We're going to have a much better picture of what he wants for this team moving forward.
And he said so candidly, in his press conferences, and that's another thing why I think the fan base love him so much, is because he wears his heart in his sleeve, just like he did when he was playing in the league, quite frankly. And he said, like, Minnesota is a great place to play, and all the people here love it here. Show me that you love it here, and you won't get traded. And that didn't apply to some players like Eric Stahl, who, Billy Guerin put his stamp on this team, found an opportunity to shake things up down the middle. And his comment to that was quite candid too, saying that, if I don't make moves, we'll be the exact same team next year. That's a GM that's being proactive. And I think, with this draft pick falling into the lap of the Minnesota Wild too, and Marco Rossi, that their center depth is starting to become addressed with younger players now. And like Hoppy said, when contracts come off the books next year and he can really start shaping this team, I think the Minnesota Wild are definitely on the up and up. And I know you talked about Cam Talbot, and Billy Guerin was very open talking about how they targeted Cam Talbot because they felt that upon doing their due diligence and their analytics department looking into things and talking to the people he trained with and whatnot, that his style fits the Minnesota Wild system very well. I mean, look at Devan Dubnyk. He came out of nowhere, like the depths of hell in Edmonton, no offense, and Arizona, quite literally, with the heat over there, and was able to find his niche within a system that, helped him develop. And I'm not saying that, Devan Dubnyk is all because of the Minnesota Wild defense. Cam Talbot in his own right's a damn good goaltender and arguably a 1A, 1B in the National Hockey League. With the system that they believe he will fit in with well in Minnesota and that defense in front of him, I think they made the right choice. And it's not a long contract. Yeah, 3 years. It's 2 or 3 years. I forget, because he offered 2, or he offered each of them. But anyways, it was a 2 or 3 year contract. Yeah, 2-year contract. And 3, sorry. And by that time, by the end of it, they'll kind of know what they have in the young backup in Capo Kakinen, and he may be able to even take that reins that year or split 50-50, depending on, well, how good or how bad Talbot does in his tenure. So yeah, long and the short of it, super impressed with what he's done. And I think, much like the Canucks, moves it's not finished. Like the building is still it's in construction, but it's going in a positive direction for sure.
I'm curious what you guys think of Alex Stalock. Is he able to sustain what he did last year?
I guess, what do you mean by that? Are you talking the 4 games of the postseason, or what he did during the regular season?
During the regular season.
I mean, during the regular season, there wasn't much to sustain. Like, he did okay towards the end of the year, the last month or two there, but like the goaltending as a whole was a clusterfuck. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I do think that, like, that's the floor. Like, there's some level of regression coming. Whether it's enough to make him a 50-50 split with Talbot remains to be seen. But I think he's a guy that you can be okay throwing in every third game and not thinking that he's going to be a huge liability. He's not.
And that's something Michael Russo says too, Hoppy, in the fact that, he can come in relief for a game or two, but if he has to play 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row, that's where he falls off, because he's not the guy. He's never been that guy in the National Hockey League, and so that's not his game.
Although the argument I would say against that is, so was Hudobin most of his career, and look what he just did.
True, but they tested Stalock last year and it didn't work out, right?
Fair.
And it's still a small sample size too, with one playoff run there with Khudobin. And I mean,
I love the guy.
Like, when the Wild got rid of him, however many years back, I thought that was stupid as shit, and here we are. But he's still a guy that, I mean, Dallas does not want him to be their starter for a full 82 game season, or I guess whatever the season's going to be this year. Like, he is a phenomenal 1B goalie. And when their starter goes down, he's a guy that can definitely step in and carry his load.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's probably going to be close to a 50-50 split with Stalock and Talbot. Stalock's someone you ride when he's hot, and he got hot at the end of the year, and he got hot going into the playoffs as well. He played really well in those 4 games despite losing to the Canucks. But if he's hot, you ride him, and because he's more of a feel, and he's a very unorthodox goaltender too.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's a throwback to the 80s a little bit with the more of a stand-up style. Throw caution into the wind and make the big bold choices to try and make the saves. So if he's hot, you ride him, but if not, then you still have a very solid, dependable goaltender in Cam Talbot to come in and calm things down.
Hoppy, did Stalock play like that in college? Like, was he that? Did he play that outside of the net, or is he a little bit more reserved just because but probably like equal size as a lot of his peers at that point?
Well, and the bigger thing for him, it's you're right about his unorthodox play in the crease, but his biggest advantage is people are not ready for someone that's that aggressive on the puck behind the net. He plays the puck very well. He takes risks, but for the most part, they're calculated risks. And it's something that we said when we jumped on the Larshcast show when we were kind of debating the series. Like, that was something that was gonna throw the Canucks off, and it did in the first game. They figured it out and they were able to capitalize on it, and that's why having him be that guy consistently isn't ideal. But you throw him in every third game, even half the games, if that's what it ends up being, if he catches the hot streak, like you were saying, he can be that right guy. He's very easy to figure out, but if he's your changeup guy, it does throw teams on edge a little bit. It's hard to prepare for that when you aren't used to it in this league, with majority of goalies being pretty conservative.
And the majority of goalies being big, and
that too.
Stalock only being 6 foot is tiny for a goalie in the NHL these days.
Yeah. Buddy, I'm like 5'7", 5'8", and I'm like, God damn, 6 foot is small.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Never going to be a hockey player.
Well, one other thing I think that shines through is how vocal he is with his defensemen. You hear him yelling on TV a lot, and Sean and I played defense growing up, and having that vocal presence as a goaltender back there, letting know when you have time, when you don't have time, I think is massive, especially with how good that defensive core is. You got Spurgeon, Suter, Dumba, and Brodin as your top 4, and that's a hell of a top 4.
this wasn't on our agenda, but your thoughts on the Jonas Brodin contract.
I love it. Like it is what it is. Like I don't think he would sign for anything less as far as term. And people, especially in Vancouver, I don't understand why they're so critical when they signed fucking Alex Edler until he was 36. And he's still, they're very similar as far as that leading the puck out of the zone game. I think Brodin's like one of the more elite skaters in the National Hockey League, not speed wise, but in every other, sense of it. And that's what you need as a defender. So those type of players generally age like fine wine, and they're fine. And when his contract's done, he's 34, 35, like that's pretty run of the mill. It doesn't seem like this was anything out of the ordinary for a player of his pedigree, his, production as a defender and with his age, I think just because of the era that we're living in and, the COVID era and how like everyone's talking money with the NHL and everything's kind of put on hold and with the flat cap and everyone's being a little bit conservative, that this made a lot of noise in that sense. But I think in any other regular year, this would just be another regular signing that a team did with one of their best players. And he is one of their best players.
I think the mistake that you made though is the fact that you're expecting Canucks Twitter to be rational.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. My bad. I called them out this morning.
Was the comparison. Like, I understand the Edler contract. Like, he's coming off the books after this year when.
Well, no, he signed another extension. He signed another extension like a couple years ago. Like, his big contract brought him to what, 30, 36 or whatever it was, 35?
Okay. Well, the one that you should be comparing it to is Tyler Myers, which dollar for dollar, I'm much happier with Jonas Brodin. And I don't love it like Isha does, but it's like he's a guy that is going to age well. This guy will probably play well into his 30s. He just is a very steady, consistent number 3 defenseman that they need. The big problem there, and again, why we are talking about Dumba being traded out, and apparently everyone in Canucks and Wild Twitter thinks that there's some kind of trade going down
for Besser
and for Dumba, and it doesn't make sense on either side, really. So I don't know why it keeps on being talked about, but you can't have 27 mil pumped into your top 4 defensemen. That's just not a way to sustain success. So something's going to happen.
And put it this way, Brodin's floor is much higher than Dumba's, but Dumba's ceiling is much higher than Brodin. So it's kind of Billy Guerin's going at this from a calculated point of view. He's like, I'd rather have the consistency on the back end when I still have a Spurgeon who is way better than Matt Dumba. Spurgeon is one of the best defenders in the entire league. And if you can get depth at center or top player or, get some forward back where you can eventually work his magic to address it and how he wants, get that big asset back or that package. Matt Dumba seems like the perfect player on the back end to move. He's got a little bit more value in that. Like, I don't think you could get that big a package back for a Brodin because he doesn't put up the points, and that matters in the National Hockey League.
Let's be real too, though. Dumba's the one that doesn't have the no move protection.
Well, that too, of course.
The writing is on the wall with his replacement. I could not be more excited for Kalen Addison to step in and play alongside Brodin when Dumba gets moved. So,
and full disclosure, he's excited because he's a Pittsburgh fan.
Well.
He's excited because he's a Pittsburgh fan. Just full disclosure.
Okay,
helps everyone.
So
when I look at the Wild's defense and their contracts and everything, I just looked at Jared Spurgeon. He's 30 years old and just starting a new just starting a new contract, and he's signed through till he's 37. That's the one that I think people should be looking at as something that could be concerning when you're. I get it. He's very underrated. Both Brodin and Spurgeon are very underrated, but it's that 30 age range where players seem to drop off. And when you sign through till 37 at just over 7.5 million, that's the one. If you're going to look at any of those contracts and be concerned about any of them, for me, and I was someone who was trying to talk Isha down on the loving of the Brodin contract, but overall, I still think it makes sense for the Wild. But again, I think that if you're gonna look at any of them, that's concerning. It's Spurgeon as well as still wondering if Suter can still be the absolute horse that he's been throughout his because he's still got 3 years left as well.
No, he's got 5 actually.
5 years left.
Yeah, he's got 5 left. But you know what, you guys, you look though at like the analytical side of it, because everyone loves to make Suter the punching bag, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Especially since he had a career year this year in points in a shortened season.
He is reliable. You know what he's going to give you. He's never going to be a Brent Burns who's putting up like top goals or anything like that. But he is exactly what you need, is that cornerstone guy who isn't going to give up the big chances, and he's not going to be a liability on either end of the rink. I mean, you go to Evolving Hockey and you check out their contract projections. Right now, if you were to give a contract to him, he's going to be making $500,000 less than he currently makes for a term of 3 years. Like every player, the last 2 years are a write-off when you're signing someone. Like if it's a long-term contract, that could end up going poorly. Maybe you move him beforehand. Suter's not going to be that because he has zero intention of waiving, but like he is still very much the player that he needs to be for his contract. He is not vastly overpaid. He is still a first pairing defenseman in this league. I have no problem with him or Spurgeon, again, just having the style of game that he does that ages fairly well in this league.
And furthermore, just to jump on that is like, and I felt this exact same way, Sean, and I agree. Like no one in an ideal world, you don't want these big contracts, but the players are going to command it. And, I like to side with the players. Like they're the warriors out there. They're the ones who are sacrificing their body, their well-being later in life to entertain us. If they want the money, like I get it. Like I'm not going to try to rip on it too much, especially a guy like him. And what to just jump on what Hoppy said there and to conclude this is that the elite players age fine and Spurgeon's an elite player. And I didn't think that was the case until I started covering this team. And that's when I kind of was like, I understand, like, I know both sides. Like, I know that, like, you look at his points, you look at, from an outside, a couple games here and there, and you're like, okay, he's good, but he's not elite. When I started covering this team, this guy, every game, absolutely is like the Quinn Hughes factor. That's the best way to compare it. It's unbelievable.
I guess my big question is forward wise, what's going on there? And one name that has been popped up that an idea that has come up in Calgary is the idea of Matt Dumba for Sean Monahan.
Hoppy doesn't like this one. I do. So we're torn on it.
Like if that's what it ends up being, I'll live with it.
I'm a little more high on Monahan than Hoppy.
Is Goudreau coming with him?
Oh, God.
But see, that's the thing, though. We got Fiala and Kaprizov. So, like, he still has players who are going to...
Sorry, Fiala and Kaprizov are not Goudreau.
No, they're not. But then now see, this is why I get fired up. Because I think Sean Monahan's better than that. When he was on a third line and put up 20 goals on a shit Calgary Flames team in his rookie season. Like, the guy still can play.
I'm not saying
he's not a 1A center though in this league.
Well, Minnesota, he's a 1A center.
Well, when you look at what the centers that Minnesota's playing with right now, they're
Bukestad, Johansson, like Jesus.
They're waiting for Marco Rossi. That's what they're
not waiting, man. He's going to be the number 2 this year, more than likely.
He's coming to camp, and they're gonna give him a spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The guy is built like a fire hydrant.
Yeah, well, they signed him and they loaned him already to a Swiss team, like with all intention of him, becoming like being pro and playing in national hockey. Like he's not going back to junior, and he's not going back to an OHL. He can't hit anybody. Like, oh my God! Shout out Western League.
His quads are fucking massive.
Oh
my God, they're ridiculous. But I want to get on the Matt Dumba train because Bill Guerin has no choice but to trade Matt Dumba.
I don't agree with that.
Well, no. Listen, the reason why I say that is because you have a looming expansion draft, and he's not protected. You're not going to protect him. So
you 4-4. They have 5 forwards signed next year.
That's
None of them are the ones that matter.
I don't know.
Who would you keep in the forward group though, man? That's the thing. Like if you look at the roster, like anybody can be plucked and be like,
let me list the players that are on the roster after this season without UFA or RFA. Zach Parise, no move. Zuccarello, no move. Victor Rask, please. Jordan Greenway, don't give a fuck. Nico Sturm, like that. Those are our 5 forwards that are signed past next year. I'm fine exposing any of them. Unfortunately, we have to protect Parise and Zuccarello. So, like, tell me how they can't find a way to work it so that they go 4 forwards and 4 defensemen.
By getting a good forward for Matt Dumba.
Oh, I'm happy doing
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying that he has no rush to do so.
And he said
He's
so.
not
He's
gonna
like, I
make
don't
a
have to
deal just
trade
to
him
make a
before the
deal.
season. He's like, I can trade him whenever I want leading up to the trade deadline or even the expansion
You
draft.
can
right?
trade him next year, man, if he
Yeah.
really wants to. If he's not getting the value that he should, fuck it.
Yeah, I see it more of a deadline trade than anything else.
Maybe he could get the most value at the deadline for
I
sure.
think so, yeah.
But but like what Hoppy said, he's not in a rush to win right now because he knows there's 2 years out before they're like, okay, we're gonna be a Western dominant team, and ownership is on board 100% too. So that's why Minnesota fans are excited. There's no more like, well, what ifs or again just going all in at the deadline then losing out in the first round. It's now they're building for the long term, much like I think the Vancouver Canucks have been doing recently.
Yeah, Jed, when I pull up Cat Friendly's their simulation expansion draft, you look at it and yeah, there's really you're Garrett. You have to protect Parise and Zuccarello, and then yes, they have no one else signed, but you're still going to protect Joel Eriksson Ek.
You don't need to.
No, you don't need to. Why? You have Marco Rossi coming in. You don't need a guy who can't score goals.
No, but you don't have to protect a restricted free agent.
Yeah, you don't have to, but they can still be claimed.
No, they can't.
That's the thing. Yeah.
They can't.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different than it was for Vegas? Because for Vegas, that's not how it worked.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
It's games played. The only reason why I know this is because Valimaki, if he played in the playoffs this past year, he would have been eligible.
But, okay, so you protect Parise, Zuccarello because you have to, and you protect Ek and Fiala, and that's it.
And then you've got
I don't care about anyone else on the roster.
And then you make your decision on your goaltender, which is probably Talbot. And then that's it. And then you're set because, like, okay, you lose Johansson, who's a UFA. Benino's a UFA. Rask is signed, but okay.
You can not take one more year of that cap hit, I guess.
Yeah.
Marcus Foligno, good player, but replaceable.
Yeah.
Jordan Greenway is the only one that I think is someone that you can maybe be worried about, but again,
no one likes him here, man. Honestly. And even the GM doesn't like him. He signed him to trade him this season, 100%.
So yeah, they're set up to be 4-4 at this point, and if they do trade Dumba for a forward, which I think makes sense if they can find the right deal and maybe find a Peter Chiarelli out there who wants to.
Oh, buddy.
You with these trades, man. Good Lord.
Yeah.
If only they could find this trade.
Yeah.
Hey,
Mr.
I almost came back as the GM for Arizona, so like it's not that far fetched, man. There's people that are that dumb.
Devin, that was a joke.
Just like Strawman for Eriksson.
But yeah, like if they can find it, it makes sense. But if not, then they still have Dumba signed till 2023 and still building around it. And as well as you're not rushing Kalen Addison in. So
Before we move on here, I'm just about to pop open a Postmark Juicy Pale Ale. So
well, I should grab another bubbly. Hold on one sec, please.
Yeah,
okay,
I
I just
beer
opened
myself.
the standard breakfast stout from Founders too.
But no, Devin, I love the Juicy from Postmark.
yeah, the fantastic beer. God.
Okay, I'm gonna grab another beer. Be right back.
We'll just kind of do the plug here. You're watching the Hockey Podcast Facebook Live on YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, jump in on that. We got the State of Hoppy here. We're talking about the Minnesota Wild. We're going to jump. I actually want to jump to the Flames because I do think this will connect to the Canucks in a lot of ways.
Oh no.
And I think we have to start. Isha, I want to start with you because I want to kind of get your take on the Flames signing Markstrom and Tanev.
Well, I mean, they're good signings for the Flames. The Flames now are a much better team than I think they were last year, just based on they have more of a safety net and goaltending. Now, did their defense get better? I don't know. I personally like TJ Brody. He just wasn't getting it done to the best of his ability, especially last season. But getting Tanev to replace him, very different player, but just as good of a player, I think, in my mind, for what they bring to a roster. And I think that the Edmonton Oilers lost out on this one because I heard it was just down to the wire and that they were offering Markstrom a 5-year deal, and the Flames finally came in, and Markstrom had said like his camp was like ready to go, and the Flames came in at the last hour and offered him that 6th year, and he was like, "Let's go, Southern Alberta, baby."
I heard actually it was longer. I heard that
Really? Okay, well, whatever the case.
I just want to temporarily interrupt. I've been asked by my fiance to show off the breakfast spread she just made.
Sweet.
Okay. Wait.
Well, I'm gonna be kind of pissed off because I want some.
Man, I am.
Okay, we got to start.
Yeah,
eating.
that's what I have to look forward to once we finish this pod.
Just ignore if my my camera goes away for a minute.
Where were
But yeah, my second beer, Fat Tug.
Yeah, baby. I love it.
Doug.
Love the Fat Tug. No, but I think back to that deal. I think the Calgary Flames made some good signings. It's comical from a Canucks point of view that like that their back end got gutted both defensively and in goaltending, and that a good chunk of it went to the Flames. In Louis Domingue too, they lost their team. They lost their team Baker.
We lost our bubble Baker.
Yeah, man. He even made the good gluten-free stuff, I hear. Like he was all around.
No, but as far as like our 4 big notables all walked, but as far as what they did to make up for it, I actually think it wasn't that bad. The fact that they were able to fleece Vegas to get Schmidt.
Oh man,
and they also were able to get Holtby. Like I feel like that's not that bad.
No, I think, I do too. And I'm not, and me being a Capitals, like my 2 teams are the Vancouver Canucks and the Washington Capitals, as far as the teams I love, starting to fall in love with Minnesota, but try to be as unbiased as possible. But I recognize that Holtby was not the goaltender that he was in the past when Washington, won their cup in the few years prior. But I think that under, the master of Ian Clark and with the Demko as his backup and maybe, I don't know, a little bit of a more structured defense. And it's crazy, I just saw Hoppy's eyes roll there. But if you look at, again, going back to analytics and stuff, Washington's defense last year was a shit show defensively. It was horrible. Yeah, they put up points and they led the offense, but defensively they did absolutely nothing. And though I don't want to say it's all on the defense for Hoppy's performance, I think a new scene and the fact that he's got some game left. I think it'll be fine for the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not as high on it as a lot of the market, but I don't think it was a bad signing because I'd rather have that tandem than just put all the chips in Demko because I do not think he's ready. I think he shows that he maybe could be. And Nate Schmidt, I mean, holy shit. I love Chris Tanev. I love Troy Stecher. And I think they fucked up with Troy Stecher, and we can get into that later if you want. But to replace Tanev with a Nate Schmidt, someone who's so much quicker, can play defensively, who is a bona fide top 4 defender in the National Hockey League, and I'd say above Tanev. I mean, Hoppy can talk about it, Schmidt being the Minnesota boy. Hoppy even played against him in high school. This guy's the real deal.
Didn't go well, no. And I'm like half with Isha here because I do think that like the defense as a whole got worse, but Nate Schmidt is absolutely your second best defender now.
Yeah.
You improved on the top end. It's the depth that gets scary, and I don't know enough about your prospect pool to say if there's anyone that's ready to jump in.
It's a little scary.
Holtby, I'm just not on board with, man. Like maybe I'll be completely wrong here, but I get what you're saying. Their defense was horrible, but his good years were under Trotz.
True.
We're not getting a Trotz
Agreed.
team here. Will he improve on his numbers the last 2 years? Yes.
Yeah.
Is he that top goaltender? I don't think so anymore. But you got him for a good rate. I thought he was going to get paid way more than that. I think for that deal, you have no problem signing him.
Exactly.
You're just not counting on him to be what some people are touting him to be and rejuvenating his career.
The one thing though, Hoppy,
it is phenomenal.
The one thing though is the Ian Clark factor. This guy is a wizard, and he's rehabilitated so many goaltenders' careers. So I'm just curious to see how it's going to work out.
Ian Clark was the mastermind behind the rise of Sergei Bobrovsky.
Oh, 100%.
As soon as Bobrovsky lost the Tulojivian and Clark during this season was when we saw him start to decline in Columbus. And then he still was able to get that big deal in Florida. And well, we saw him just be an absolute.
Well, that's just a management blunder.
Right. But like I said, I honestly think that if you look at the other big thing with Holtby is not only did he lose Trot 2 years ago, but he lost Mitch Korn. And I think there's a handful, like 4 really good, like absolute top end goaltending coaches that everyone wants to work with. That's Francois Allaire out of New York and the Rangers. He's one of the reasons why Lundqvist has been so good for so long. Then you've got Rolly Melanson, who's in Jersey. He was one of the big reasons why Luongo and Corey Schneider have been so good. We're so good in Vancouver, and then Schneider as well for his first few years before he broke down physically in Jersey. And then you've got Mitch Korn, who was one of the big reasons why Pekka Rinne in Nashville they built up that really good goaltending as well as, and then he went to Washington for Braden Holtby, and then there's Ian Clark.
Yeah.
Who again, Bobrovsky, and then Markstrom. Markstrom's game went to another level under Ian Clark, and you look at that, and I honestly think he's not going to go back to what he was 2-3 years ago, but he's still going to be solid enough that in a tandem with Demko, while Demko takes over in the next 2 years. I think it works. It's a plan. It's better than this. As much as the Canucks fleeced Vegas in getting Nate Schmidt, they kind of fell into it. It definitely wasn't plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Go down through the whole alphabet. It wasn't on the radar until
it was plan Z.4.
Yeah,
That's what I think it was.
Schmidt over OEL any day. I'm pumped.
Oh, yeah, not even close. And I mean, he's not just a good player. Like, he is the definition of locker room guy.
Yeah.
He won over the whole media in his first
one day.
One day. Yeah. He won him over when he made the dad joke about raise your hand, and he had that with that joke. I love the Schmidt pickup. I think it really solidifies the top 4. I think the top 4 is more dynamic now. You can debate on how to set it up, but I think it is the bottom end on both forwards and on the blue line is the issue with the Canucks. So you look at that, and it all comes down to who can step up of the young players. Can Jake Virtanen become a legit 20-goal scorer? Can Adam Gaudette actually become someone that Travis Green can rely on to take tough minutes instead of sheltering him and not playing him in the third period? Can Olli Juolevi step up the way that Jim Benning is touting him to be ready to play in the NHL next year?
Or Jalen Chatfield, because Benning freaking loves him too.
And from my perspective, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong here, like, again, I think your biggest concern is the blue line downgrading as a whole unit and goaltending going down, because I do believe in Markstrom. I don't think the offense has really downgraded at all. Like, yeah, you lost to Foley, and that sucks. Like, your bottom 6 isn't any worse. If anything, they're maybe going to get a little better. And I don't know what else you have that you can potentially pull up from the prospect pipeline, but like, the forwards are going to hum the way they did for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
It's stopping goals from going in against you that's going to be the problem.
And I was telling Disco Stu this on Twitter earlier today. Like, the Canucks, last year was positive, and it was great to see. And we saw, okay, this is what we saw a glimpse of what this core can do. But we got one more year of disappointment, right? This next year is not going to be great. And it's okay, because we need this next year so that these contracts can come off the books. And much like Billy Guerin's waiting for in Minnesota, whoever's the GM, be it if Jim Benning's still there or not, which I assume he's probably going to still be there, that's when you can really be like, okay, I'm signing Hughes and Pettersson to those big contracts. This is our core. Now we can start to shape around it, much like Gillis did, with the Raymonds, with the et cetera, with some of the other players that he brought in at that time to kind of fill out the roster. And then they went all in for those, 3 years.
My only issue with that is you're wasting a year.
You're not wasting because they're there, right? It's not your choice. I mean, hindsight, it sucks that the contracts are there, but you can't do anything when you got Beagle, Roussel, and Sutter still. It's just the way it is.
The way I look at it is they need to find that right balance. They need to be able to find chew at the bottom end of the free agents and find these gems. Going after Chase Howard, I think, is a fantastic add as a depth, someone who's still young. At the very least, he's going to center your top line in Utica or Surrey or Abbotsford or wherever the comments are going to be.
Victoria.
Hey, you guys are high on Jordan Greenway. We'll trade him for Tannen straight up. No
Shotgun
questions
Jake to Minnesota, baby. Let's go.
But it's all about it's all about finding those guys who you can that are going to be cost effective for this year, and see if you can get some overachievers. And that's what the Canucks need, is some overachieving bottom six players. If they can get that, then they're going to be in the running again. If they don't, it's going to be a frustrating season.
Well, I agree, but what I agree with what you're saying there and trying to get those type of players, but man, they can't this year because there's no roster spots. That's what I'm saying. It has to be another year of this, because they're not going to, they have no cap. B, they're not going to bench these older players to throw in guys who may be hidden gems, right? They're going to fill in these spots with, maybe hidden gems, guys who, could play in the National Hockey League on other teams, but with maybe a bigger role with the Vancouver Canucks, they can shine a little bit more. I agree with everything you're saying, except not this year. It's just not happening this year. It can't.
That's a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Does Hoglander make the team?
Fuck no.
As much as we want him to be, and Vancouver's been spoiled with having Besser and Pettersson and Hughes come in and be absolute game changers from day one. Hoglander's not that.
No, Podkolzin's not that.
Podkolzin, I know is still like a year or two out, but I thought Hoglander might have been maybe a bubble player on the roster.
He's struggling. He's struggling to get top end ice time in the SHL this year.
And it's not because they're pushing him. It's just he hasn't played to it. Much like Podkolzin, which is a whole other story, right? Because him and his team are just not.
Fixing the Podkolzin issue is a podcast in its own.
Yeah.
It's going to be I think the Canucks have the prospect depth going down the line. Cole Lind, I think, is a year away from being someone they can possibly slide in and build up. But again, some of these players are a year away. We don't know what Jack Rathbone looks like on the blue line. Ole Hugh Levy's still unknown. Brogan Rafferty.
Yeah, that kid.
Hey, Dark Horse Michaelis. He's going to be an interesting one to watch for you guys.
Yeah. But I think Michaelis is someone I think is probably going to slide in the top six on the farm team, at least to start.
The top six?
Yeah. On the farm team.
He's a defenseman.
Michaelis, I thought he was a winger center.
He's a left wing center.
Oh, yeah. All right.
But on the everyone keeps touting Brogan Rafferty, and as many points and as dynamic as he was offensively, there's still a lot to work on defensively for him. He still needs another season in the AHL, at least half of seasoning in the AHL to build on that for me to be able to say that he's ready. So that's the problem with the Canucks, is they don't have the young players ready to step up and take those veteran spots away. The bottom six for the Canucks comes down to can Gaudette become someone that Travis Green can trust to take heavy minutes?
I think the bigger issue, though, Sean, is the GM fallacy that they're not going to bench these guys that are making $3 million. It's not a matter that people can't slot in. It's just like Jack Johnson. He's going to play because he is making over $3 million, and we feel like idiots if we have him up in the press box. It's going to take a lot for Benning to admit, I fucked up these signings, so let's put these guys up in the press box.
Especially when he's already done so with Louis Eriksson. He's not going to do it with Beagle, Sutter, or Rousseau.
Well, I think
Travis Green trusts Beagle. Travis Green trusts.
Well, that's the thing, because they're not bad players. They're just not
They're just
that
overpaid.
next. Yeah, they're just overpaid, and that's the thing. You know, they shouldn't. If the Canucks really want to be competitive, these aren't the guys that you're going to do it with. But they're not bad players. Like, I hate when Canucks Twitter rips on Jay Beagle because like he should be doing this and this and that. I'm like, no, he shouldn't. Like, he's exactly what he is. He's just making $3 million.
You want Jay Beagle to be
Exactly.
Beagle is a perfect fourth line center. Unfortunately, he's like a third line center and a solid third line center, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's a great room guy. He's a great penalty killer.
Guys, Washington wouldn't have won the cup without him. I swear. It's like he
Misha still wants him to win the Conn Smythe, and
he should have won the Conn Smythe.
Shut up.
What was Benning's biggest mistake, though, in this offseason? We were going to talk about the Flames. We'll jump to the Flames here in a moment. But the biggest mistake, in my opinion, was he hung on way too long in this OEL thing. He should have fished, and he should have, once this went down, it's like, okay, this is the offer. I'm not playing anymore. If you're not in, I got people to sign. I got work to do.
We lost Stetcher, right?
Yeah.
That's my bigger thing, man. Like, the OEL thing didn't matter because you got Nate Schmidt, which is better than you ever expected to get in a defenseman return, especially for what you gave up for him. Letting Stetcher walk for that price when, like,
ridiculous.
It sounds like that was completely a GM blunder, like trying to fuck with him and get every dime they could out of him. That contract he signed in Detroit is phenomenal.
Well, it's even worse because they were waiting. They told Stetcher, we're waiting to hear from Tyson Barrie. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. That's a GM blunder. You don't tell a player that.
I read that they flat out told him that they don't see him as a top four defenseman and that he will forever be on the bottom pairing. And that's why he said, fuck you, I'm out.
Jeez, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true.
I don't see Stetcher as a full-time top four defenseman, especially when you've got when I've talked about this, and I think there's something there. He plays his heart out. He's a very solid defenseman. He's a perfect 4-5 in my opinion.
He's a perfect 1.5, $1.7 million player, and they didn't bring him back at that rate. That's what's crazy.
But what happened? Yeah, it's a little bit of everything with Stetcher. It's he knew that despite him being a local kid, he knew that they didn't see him as a top four defenseman. He knew he could go out and find probably someone, and he did find a team that was willing to give him top 4 minutes. And then he got played around a little bit with the timeline and asking to not to wait, and they kept trying to upgrade, and they did it with Tanev too. Benning got caught chasing on everything except the goaltending. He moved on. He realized that it was already too rich to go 6 years on Markstrom at $6 million, for especially when you've got the expansion draft coming up and you've got Demko coming up, and don't forget about Mikey DiPietro coming up. He's still 2-3 years away from being a potential solid backup there for the Canucks. Maybe even more. I know there's a few people out there that are that are higher on DiPietro than they are on Demko. So keep that in mind. But he moved on and went and got Holtby, as opposed to the blue line where he was chasing. And he did it with, he chased OEL, then he chased Barrie, and then he's like, and then he would try to go back to Tanev, too late. Try to go back to Stetcher, too late. Luckily, he had Schmidt fall in his lap. They got him for like there's a lot of people in Canucks land that are trying to bash him for giving up a 3rd round pick and
don't look for them to be rational again.
Don't and not getting another asset back, but it's still a third round pick for a legit
top 2 defender.
He's a 2-3 guy. He's a 2-3 guy in a perfect world.
And like you look at the Canucks top 4, if you go with Hughes Myers, which is they've done last year a few times and was very, very good, a very good pairing at driving play, and not having to have Myers like stick his feet in the mud trying to throw his stick around trying to take away the puck in the defensive zone
or cross check everything in sight.
Baby giraffe, baby.
Baby Trent.
and then you've got Edler and Schmidt as your other pair. That's a very, very good top four. And I think you're really good with that. The bottom pair is where you're going to miss Troy Stecher. And when injuries happen is when you're going to miss Troy Stecher. And that's huge.
And you know what, man? I think perfect world. If Stetcher's here, you play him with Schmidt, and you have Edler being a solid piece on that third pairing, and it works out pretty well.
Yeah, that's the other thing is going forward is who's going to take over the minutes from Edler when he's gone potentially after this season, because
He's a cruncher of minutes.
I care less though about the chasing of Tanev because he got way overpaid. Like he got an extra mil minimum and an extra year minimum.
I profoundly disagree with you on that.
Well, look at the shirt you're wearing. I'm not shocked at all that you disagree with me.
No, I cheer for the Canucks too. But Devin wanted to say something, and then I'll respond.
Yeah, just that Benning got fucking lucky. He got goddamn lucky with getting Schmidt. First of all, what he gave up for, and second of all, getting that quality of a fucking player. Are you kidding me? Imagine how crazy Canucks fucking world would be right now if that didn't happen. Like honestly, even worse than it actually is right now. So I like that. That's his big saving grace in this offseason.
Agreed, man. 100%.
Well, and to get the Tanev with the Flames, why I don't think it's a bit of an overpay, but he's a guy like compared to what else he was going to get out there, what else was out there, you were going to have to pay that anyway. He was probably, no matter what, that's what that market was going to be. So
I mean, it wasn't $6 million like you were predicting there, Kevin. So
you predicted $6 million for Tanev?
What?
You missed that episode.
He's the one that was celebrating when they signed Myers too.
No, I think Tanev is absolutely Tanev isn't the replacement for Brody. Tanev is the replacement for Hamonic, and he is an upgrade. He's an upgrade for Hamonic for sure.
Agreed.
I think that we're going to be one of the things we're going to get into this, probably not in this podcast, but another one. I don't think they're expecting Tanev to play a full season this year. I think that they're going to use him very differently. And I think he's going to be a huge influence on a Noah Hannafin, on a Rasmus Anderson, and a lot of the young defensemen out there, on the Valimakis, Matt Connor Mackey. Remember that name. I think he's going to be a huge difference maker. And
who's going to be dad in Calgary is what you're saying.
He's going to be dad too in Calgary. There's already Giordano. So he's like uncle.
Kevin, I don't, and I know this because like I've obviously talked to Hoppy about this. I don't think he's being critical of the player himself. I just think it is a little bit of an overpayment given the contract. It's
just like Zuccarello in Minnesota. I love the player. I'm happy he's in Minnesota.
Hate the contract
is stupid as shit.
But you're going to have to do that with these type of players anyway.
No, I disagree because he's not at that level where you have to give that extra, right? Because I think really? And man, no. And look. I'm trying to put my bias on the shelf too.
Your boys aren't defending you right now, Kevin. I don't know.
And I'm the biggest fan of Tanev.
They're going to back off here, but there were some people out there that thought that the second best right shot defenseman on the market was Chris Tanev behind Pietrangelo.
And who else was on the list?
But that's the thing. Who else was on the list?
But hold on. That's the thing, though, is that no matter what in free agency, you're overpaying. You're giving them an extra $1 million a year. You give them an extra year, period. Yeah. I think that yeah, exactly. But that's the thing is that, like, look, Chris Tanev at most has played 70 games in this in the NHL, and that was in 14-15. And we know, like, Tree Living knows what he's getting within this player. You're getting character in the room. You're getting a heart and soul player. Every time he's on the ice, he's willing to give out everything he has. And maybe like $500,000 more than what you wanted to, and definitely a year more.
I think the year is what's the thing is.
The year matters, and I think it's more than $500,000. But that fair enough.
Yeah, but once again, who else are you going to get? The Dumba deal was there's all that talk about Monahan for Dumba. You're looking for a right-hand shot. It's either that or you get a player who's still on the market right now. And what's his name? Defenseman. out of no, not Hamonic. Anyways, I'll circle back to that.
Mackenzie Weegar?
Well,
No. He played.
I know. I understand, and like that's the thing. Like I don't think this was I think this was a good move for the Flames overall because they needed that player. I'm just saying, like you asked us straight up, like, do we think the contract is great? Like, no, I think that the Canucks definitely could have got him in lower if they wanted to. I think if he went to a team that was a little bit better than the Flames, he would have taken a little bit more of a pay cut. I think this was the perfect situation, both for the Flames and Tanev. Thus, they equally cashed in.
Well, once Markstrom joined the Flames, I think that it was a good shot that Tanev was going to join him.
No, fair.
But I mean, yeah, you're overpaying in a lot of ways anyway with free agency, and I think for both the Flames and the Canucks, ultimately this end up to being a win-win because I do think Tanev is an upgrade from Hamonic and Schmidt is an upgrade for Tanev. So I think both organizations got a win-win there. But for the actually, let's just quickly stick with the Canucks.
The other thing with the Flames is they're in a win now situation. They've had 2 to 3 very disappointing seasons with this core. And they need to find a way to make to take that next step. Solidifying the goaltending with Markstrom makes
playoffs. They've had pretty good seasons, but playoffs overall.
Yeah, but the playoffs are what matters, right?
No. But that's what I mean. Like their seasons have been fine. So their playoffs are they shit the bed.
Yeah.
You think that they actually have a chance to contend now with this, though?
I think there are people within the Flames organization that believe that they missed out on an opportunity last year. I think that they felt if they would have beat Dallas, they would have been on a run.
I think they missed out on the years prior.
What's that?
I think they missed out on the 2 years prior.
Yeah, they did too.
Well, yeah, they were definitely deeper.
Yeah,
they're deeper, but you're playing against Nathan McKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche, who just steamrolled them. And even when Calgary, if they played their top game, I don't think they would have beat them that year, anyways.
It was close. Yeah.
It was. And just for record, guys, it was Sami Vatanen who I was thinking.
Vatanen, yes.
Vatanen. And like, really, if that's your top right shot defense free agency, I mean, he's still out there right now, right? Mm-hmm. So going back just to Tanev just briefly, I feel like they made a good move on that all.
No, and again, totally get it. But I think if it was a year where there was more of a saturated market, he's not getting this contract, right?
Yeah. He was. I'm the biggest Tanev fan.
Me too. That's the thing. Me too.
Like losing Markstrom was whatever. Like I kind of expected it because of everything set up for them to lose him, but they had Holtby in right away. When Tanev signed with the Flames, that was a gut punch. Like I'm a big Tanev fan. I'm a big fan of players like that. Who put their body on the line to help the team win.
Guys, he's only
the only other 2011 alumni on that team.
I was just gonna say, Chris, he's only played 33 playoff games with the Canucks, and he's been a fucking warrior in every season. Regardless.
Like he is a upgrade on Chris Russell, but they play the exact same style of game.
He's a better skater than Russell.
Travis Hamonic. This is the type of player that Brad Treliving thought he was getting with Travis Hamonic making that trade with the New York Islanders, and that's that type of player is exactly what Treliving's been looking for years.
When I look at the Flames blue line, like up front, I like the Flames up front.
Here we go.
Top line. They've got they don't necessarily they've got Tkachuk on the second line. They've got a few younger players that should be able to step up. But going into, you look at their blue line, and they've got Giordano, solid player. He's going to eat up minutes. He's not going to put up the points he has in the past, but he's still going to be very good for them. You've got Noah Hanifin, over-criticized defenseman. I think he's better than a lot of people realize. But a solid guy. You've got Chris Tanev, who is a warrior out there, who's going to put his body on line. He's going to be very good defensively for them. And then you've got Rasmus Andersson, who's the key for the blue line for the Flames going forwards. they're paying him to put up points. They're paying him to put up 25 to 30, even more points at $4.5 million. And he hasn't done it yet. I know Devin's very high on him. I know Heidi's very high on him. I know that they both expect him to take that next step. Kevin as well. I haven't seen it yet, but if he's there, that's a big piece for the Flames. That's going to really solidify that top four for the Flames. And then you've got Juuso Välimäki coming in.
He's going to be a fucking stud, but I watched him every time he came to Victoria playing for Tri-Cities. This guy's unbelievable.
If he can step up and be the player that he's kind of showing out in Finland.
Well, injuries dampened that 1 year, right? Like it wasn't his fault.
That's going to be huge. And then the Nikita Nesterov, who they just signed, he's a left shot guy who can play the right side. I think right now he's your number 6 defenseman. He's your guy that's going to play your right side on your bottom pair. I know I made the joke that they're signing AHLers, but I don't see Nesterov as an AHLer for the Flames going into next year unless they sign someone else. Right now, I think they penciled him as the right shot defenseman, unless they think Yellowson is going to step in.
And they got Yellowson. They signed Petrovic. They signed and Connor Mackey is a guy that they're also very high on too.
Connor Mackey is a left defenseman though there. So that's the one caveat I have to throw out there for Connor Mackey. I think he's a year away. I know they're high on him, but I think he's a year away in that aspect. But
would you stop taking my fucking points? Jesus Christ. You already talked about your fucking team.
Well, last thing I'll say here on Tanev, guys, because again, I like the player. The contract is what's the problem for me. Like, you've talked about your concern with the aging defenseman for the Wild. We're comparing him now directly to Hamonic. They brought Hamonic in at 27. You're signing this 4-year by $4.5 million at 30 for a guy in Chris Tanev, who, let's be real, like they play a similar type of role. Tanev is way more of the gritty player. He is diving in front of every shot.
Every shot.
He will break down within 2 years, and then you're looking back and saying, what the fuck? Like, I love him as a player. If you promise me he's healthy for all 4 years, even with the aging factor, I don't hate it as much. There's just a lot more risk with that type of a signing, and it comes off as more of a let's win this year type thing when I'm not quite sure that the Flames are quite ready to win now. You know,
I agree. I think that Tree Living thinks that his window's within the next 3 years. And if he doesn't hit that, then he did his best. He did his fucking best to try and go for that, right? And then there's nothing wrong with that.
And what he's done with this team. And you said it, you hit the nail on the head right there. He's done everything that he could do with the opportunity. And it's not his fault. His coach was a scumbag too. And all that drama went, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's done everything from a general manager point of view to put the best team that he could out on the ice. And his development has been good too. If some teams just don't hit it, I mean, sorry, Devin, look at the Leafs. They've gone through a few cycles they haven't hit it. Look at the Canucks. They've gone through a few cycles who haven't hit it. Washington, mind you, with Ovechkin still throughout it all, went through a few phases where they didn't hit it. Some, and then they eventually did. Some do, some don't.
San Jose.
San Jose, great example.
I want to make a point though here about the Pacific Division. I think I legitimately, other than Vegas.
You mean the Canada division?
It's a wide open division.
It is.
There is no Pacific Division, Kevin. It's Canada now, and it sucks. I hate it.
I'm going to assume the Pacific Division is still going to exist the next few years.
God bless you. I'll let you think that.
Thank you.
With the way the States is handling this pandemic, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's our fault. It's our fault for sure.
It is. It's all your fault.
But looking just right now, as is, Vegas is the only team that I think is a legitimate, true cup contender. Anyone else here, I think it's a mixed match. You look at the Oilers, they're the Oilers.
Mike Smith is back, baby.
Mike Smith, baby.
Thank you. You took my point, Sean. That's why I'm scared.
The Oilers, Flames, Canucks. And then you got the 3 California teams. It's not a strong division.
But even if you look
at the weakest division of before right now in hockey.
Yeah. But even if you look at the Canadian division too, it's a mixed bag.
I just hate that the Canucks still get fucked over and have to travel more than any team in the league in their own division now. It's like this didn't help anything for them. They're still flying as far as they would anyway.
Seattle will help, but yeah, it still doesn't really negate that. Yeah.
And I know it's a pandemic. I'm just saying, I'm just saying as a sports fan, as a human being, as a as someone who understands what's going on in the world, I know that if this, leaked divisional map is correct, and I get it, and I'd rather hockey than no hockey, but again, as a salty Canucks fan, fuck this. Of course this happens to us.
But but if you look at it all, like Toronto's like Toronto, they can't seem to figure that out.
They can figure out the regular season though.
Yeah.
But they didn't make the playoffs this year.
Canucks didn't either.
No, the Canucks did.
The Canucks did make the playoffs.
That's not the regular
Flames
season.
did.
They make it if there's no 24 teams getting in.
But you look at that, and it's gonna be it's good. There's spots for all these teams if they find the right mix. I think there's spots for all these teams to be good.
Tell you what, guys, I'm gonna go pee and get a refill, and I'm gonna leave you on this so you can all start yelling, and I'll just come back to it. But
no,
I think Toronto and Montreal lead the Canadian division if it happens. Go.
Lead the Canadian division?
Lead.
Yes.
I mean Toronto, yeah. Montreal, you're full of shit.
I'm higher on Montreal than everyone else here.
I have faith that Montreal is going to improve. I don't think it's going to be the level that Kev is thinking, or maybe.
Oh, I think that too. I think, put it this way, like it's the best Canadian teams. It goes like Toronto, I'd say the Flames, and then it's like Winnipeg Canucks and Edmonton are kind of on that same level. Maybe Edmonton a little bit more just because they have the McDavid factor, and I have to throw that in there. And then it's obviously the old Senators.
I just think with Montreal, with Carey Price, you have more confidence than in winning games because you have Carey Price.
True, but you got to score goals.
And I really
hold on. Don't forget about the trident on the blue line in Montreal.
Well, again, you know what? I'm the biggest. Shea Weber is my favorite. He's my favorite player, to be perfectly honest. Until he retires, he will be my favorite player in the National Hockey League. He always has been, and I still think he's got game. So I think you don't sleep on Montreal because you have a player like that on the back end who even to this day puts the fear of God in anyone who's coming down that wing. Think about it. You could have like the flashiest, you could have like the Quinn Hughes or whatever, and people are so high on these younger, more flashier defenders. You're coming down the wing, bombing at high speed. Who are you more scared of? A fucking Quinn Hughes there or Shea Weber who's about to just eat you for breakfast? So
everyone agrees with me. This is perfect.
the guy still got game, but I don't think that there's any sort of offense that can lift them past a good defense and, the pillars in Price and a Weber.
But see, the difference, man, is that Montreal, like in the playoffs, no, I don't think they're going to win the cup, but regular season, they have the balance up and down the lineup where they're going to give teams fits, especially when you're not game planning for them the way that you do in the playoffs. Yeah. I genuinely think they could be a big stunner in the regular season.
They just can't score.
And then they're going to fizzle out.
They just can't score. And we saw what happened with the Canucks in the playoffs and Minnesota. You got to fucking score to win.
Vancouver Nation was all about how Toffoli boosts the scoring. Why has that changed now that he's in Montreal? I don't get it.
Because he's not next to Pettersson, bud.
Yeah, that's fair.
If we do want to talk about a horrible contract, can we talk about Josh Anderson's contract?
Oh, God. Love them.
Again, we're not talking about 3 years from now. I'm saying this year, Montreal will be the second team in the Canadian division.
And by the way, Josh Anderson, again, this goes back to Hoppy's. So Hoppy should coin this. Yeah, we got to coin this or put it on some T-shirts at the Soda Pod. Love the player, hate the contract.
Yes. Okay. Yep. T-shirts being made.
I'm going to let Devin talk about the Leafs here, and I will be back because he's probably higher on them than all of us are. Maybe.
I mean,
I'm actually not down on the Leafs like everyone else.
Damn it.
No, I mean, Devin, the Leafs are a good team. I'm just, me. I just can't.
No, it's just my brother. He just fucking pokes and prods. Okay, so the Leafs, I think they're contenders. I really do. I think I said this on the last podcast.
Hang on, define contender though, Devin. How many teams can you say in a given year are a contender?
At least 16.
Are they top 5? Are they top 10? Are they top 16? Like, where do you put them?
I put them top 8. let's
Okay.
say.
Okay, fair.
Top eight.
I can pick that up.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that you guys probably don't know is that I'm not a traditional Leafs fan. I can actually be critical of them and
No,
understand
I
where
know.
the hell
We've
they're
talked
coming
before,
from.
Devin. I know.
I know. I just hate the whole like persona that, oh, you're a Leafs fan. Oh, well, you must
I mean,
think this.
Devin, I see all of the Leafs memorabilia on your back wall. Like, I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Hey, we got Dougie and Clark over there, right there. But anyways,
But also the greatest player in NHL history outside Gretzky and Gordie Howe.
Fuck off.
Are you kidding me? Okay, that's a podcast for another day. Soda pod another day.
Hold on. But before we move on, it's Bobby, right?
Sorry.
I named my dog after Gordie Howe.
Amazing.
Yes.
And he seems like a wonderful dog. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't be a slight bit better if he was named Mario. That's all.
That's fair. Oh man, yeah, they're going way too deep right now. Okay, so
Well, that is another podcast.
Yeah, I know. We're the worst. I'm
100%.
sorry, guys.
I love the tangents. I do.
I feel Heidi is cringing in the background somewhere.
Yeah, totally. God. The fact. Hold on. Okay, so the fact that we locked up Travis Dermott at a cheaper price point than Marco Rossi means everything to me. I love it. I love how he's played over 100 games in the NHL. I think it's 130.
We got to clip that,
games.
Aisha. We got to clip that.
I'm clipping it. Send me the audio, boys.
Oh, shit. That was beautiful.
Oh
I'm gonna
man,
cry.
it's phenomenal. He is pushing to be a top 4 defenseman on the lineup. He won't get there just because of the depth that they have with Muzzin, Riley, Brody, and Hall.
Hell of a player, though. Unreal.
He's underrated. He really is.
No, he is.
Like
Paul's a Minnesota boy, by the way. Just saying.
If he's very similar to Rasmus Anderson in the kind of depth chart of player. He's just a bit under than a Rasmus Anderson, but he's very, very close for those people who don't know Travis Dermott. And locking him up for that, I think, is phenomenal. And having that depth, I feel like is what you need, and that's where Vancouver Canucks fans, and we talked about this before, not signing Troy Stetcher, letting him walk, I think was one of the stupidest things that Jim Benning has done. But sticking with the Leafs, I feel like, yeah, like I said before, they are a top 8 contender in the NHL, and especially with getting Wayne Simmons, having Jason Spezza and Joe Thornton on that 4th line, or in the bottom 6, however you want to split it up, I think is massive in that room, and that's exactly what these young players need in that locker room, is those veteran presence to keep them accountable, and make sure that their focus is 100% where it needs to be, and that's winning hockey games and winning a Stanley Cup. And granted, yeah, Joe Thornton hasn't won, Spezza hasn't won, and Wayne Simmons hasn't won, but they've all been very damn close, and they've been there. And
I like all those moves, man. It's like that. What a way to solidify your bottom 6. Maybe not with speed, but that's okay because your top 6 is the speedsters.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me though, like 1 or 2 of those, not all 4.
Fair enough. By the way, quickly, boys, Travis Dermott, I have his player card up here from JFresh, and like it's unbelievable. Like 94% even strike defense, even strike offense 50, goals for 50%, goal, like everything, the way everything's above, what you'd predict. And wow, like I'll send you guys the link, and maybe you can share it from your podcast, or Devin, if you want to retweet it. Like it's blown I knew he was good because I've seen, some of his stats before, like analytics. JFresh does a great job at JFresh Hockey of putting together player cards of like really like the analytics that you need to know right there for everyone to read them. And like you said it, for $1 million, just under, man, this guy's an unbelievable player.
Now, Isha's on JFresh. I'm on Cap Friendly, and I just have to ask Devin directly, what does the number 1.2 million mean to you?
1.2 million?
Yeah.
That is a hot dog eating Phil Kessel.
That is my spirit animal, Phil Kessel, who you will not speak ill of.
He named his dog after Phil Kessel.
That's fucking right.
I love Phil Kessel. Now, for instance, I know that Toronto still needs to get under the cap, and this is one of our bullet points that we need to talk about. I could definitely see them potentially trading some of that cap towards somebody else who can actually eat it a little bit and maybe even come to the cap floor, like a Ottawa Senators. He only has 2 more years at 1.2.
Can you trade retained salary?
I don't see why not.
I genuinely don't know. I
genuinely don't know either. But
Hold
I'm
on.
saying,
Let me see what the Google machine says.
yeah. Search it up because I thought that you might be able to do that.
I think you should be able to. I just don't know that that's actually.
I mean, if you can trade an injured player to create LTIR room like the Leafs did last year, I'm sure you can trade retained salary.
Oh, buddy, I went to an Arizona game earlier this year in the winter, and standing right in front of me in line was a guy wearing a Coyotes jersey with Datsuk on the back. Made my life.
I saw
Oh
a picture
God.
of that on Twitter.
That's phenomenal.
Dude,
That's
I
so
saw
damn
dude,
good.
I saw someone at UVic wear Verbata 17 Canucks too.
It's too
Oh,
good.
that's so good.
At least
Don't get me wrong, that one season was magical, but
Yeah.
it fucking fell off real quick.
Yeah.
But a lot of people wanted to replace that Kessler on the name bar, so they jumped on Verbata.
That's hilarious. No, that's true. I mean, man, I got friends who just straight up burn their Kessler jerseys, but we won't get into names here on the podcast.
Are we ready for another 96 in Canucks colors?
What's that?
Are we ready for another 96 in Canucks colors? First time since Bure?
I think so.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what a guy, giving up, his number, then giving up his second number. Oh,
He
man.
realizes where he is on the depth chart.
I like Gaudette, man. I hope he becomes the player that we all want him to be, that like solid third liner who can play second line minutes if needed. I just don't want to see him sheltered anymore. I want him to be thrown into the fire and given confidence. I think that's the biggest thing.
I want to say that's what the game plan is.
To throw this back to the Toronto and compare that, Dermott and Gaudette both got the same kind of treatment in terms of getting that very cheap 1-year deal. Show me that you can play, and we'll give you the multi-year deal that's good, that's really up there next year. Because if you look at everything, for Gaudette, all the other deals that got signed. He could have easily he got nixed by the 10.2C signed
Black
up
Hole RFA. Yeah.
Cole RFA deal. More than Dermott didn't get that, but he signed it anyways, just to help the Leafs out. But Gaudette kind of did the same thing for the Canucks, in that if you look at all the other players who were scoring at the same rate that Gaudette did, they were getting $2.5 million. So they got Gaudette at a really good rate, as the Leafs did with Dermott.
Yeah, for sure. I personally, I want to circle back to the Flames right now, actually, and the fact that they signed. Hold on here. Sorry, the fact that they signed Joachim Nordstrom and Dominic Simone. I thought that those were very sneaky good. And Sean brought it up earlier, talk about potentially outplaying your contract at league minimum. I think those two players definitely have the potential to do that. And I'm gonna pull a book out of or a page out of Sean's book here. If they can trade, a Derek Ryan, then I don't think that they'll skip a beat there as bottom 6 goes.
I can comment on Simone because, like Isha said, like I help him cover the Wild because I live here. But growing up, there wasn't a team, so I'm diehard Penguins fan based on Lemieux alone. And Simone is a guy that can play up and down the lineup. He can literally play 1 through 4. He is not going to be your goal scorer. He is not going to be a finisher at the net, but he is always in the right spot. He plays the game the right way. And if you're getting him at league min, like he's definitely not a negative coming onto the roster. It's just a matter of finding the right fit of who he's going to play with.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well, how he's someone who I think can outplay his contract more than Nordstrom. But I really like that signing for the Flames in getting Dominic Simone.
Well, Simone's played with Crosby, and he has that like you said, it's just he plays the right way. his analytics are fantastic, and credit to our assistant GM Snow. I thought that that's probably a credit to him to put that bug in Tree Living's ear to go grab him.
He's Alan Quine, really. Like he's basically that type of player, that type of replacement. Probably better defensively than Alan Quine was, but on that level, I'm not one of those guys that is excited about the Flames trading Derek Ryan. I think he's got I think he's a very valuable piece. I think often underrated in the Flames market, but and I think they got him at a really good deal. But so I'm not excited about the idea of depends what you get for Derek Ryan, but
I agree. I love Ryan as a player, but I feel like a Glenn Godden coming up can be not replaceable or anything like that, but can actually we have depth at that position, and that's why I feel like potentially you could trade Ryan and maybe retain a little bit of salary as well, because he is what's he making here? He's making
just over 3, but I think he's outplaying that contract even slightly. Like you could make more on the open market right now than that.
For sure you can. It's just he wasn't utilized as that under Jeff Ward. I thought that Jeff Ward liked Tobias Rieder a hell of a lot more than he liked Derek Ryan. And I'm not saying he's wrong or anything, but because Rieder played amazing in the playoffs. He's the best penalty killer, probably a top 6 player on the Flames, to be completely honest with you, in that playoff or qualifying push there. So. I think that if we do keep Ryan, we need Jeff Ward needs to utilize him better.
Yeah, I like Derek Ryan as well. Ishi was shouting out Jay Fresh earlier. I'm going to shout out friend of the show, Bryce Chevalier at Architect Hockey. He's also very good at breaking down what I like what he does is he breaks down the stuff away from the standard lump everything into 1 or 2 stats. So he's got if you go in, donate to his Patreon, it'll show him he's got defense, transition, passing, and shooting for forwards, and under defense he's got Derek Ryan as a 5-star player. He's got forechecking at like an 80, like out of 100 type ranking. He's got forechecking and defensive coverage in the high 80s, and I think that's fantastic. I really do like Derek Ryan as a 3rd line or even a 4th line player who's going to give you high penalty kill minutes. Dominic Simone also ranks very highly in that aspect as well. So in terms of where I see Dominic Simone fitting in, I see him and Derek Ryan pairing up on the 4th line as well as in the penalty kill and being very good for the Flames.
I'm almost more open, and I know that there's going to be a couple listening to this podcast that will disagree with me. I'm more open to the idea of trading Michael Backlund, to be honest, than I am Derek Ryan.
Why?
I don't know if I agree with that either.
Well, I think Ryan can be the 3rd line guy, and I think if you decide to finally move Lindholm to center, which I think he's more effective as a center than he is a winger, you can move Monahan to 2, and you move Ryan to 3. Then you have your top 3. That's a really solid top 3.
For how long though?
Yeah, so Derek Ryan's
You're really selling me on this whole Monahan for Dumba thing.
I don't. If I was the Flames, I would do it. If I was the Wild, I wouldn't.
Except the Flames. I think the Flames number 3 center going into right now is going to be Sam Bennett.
Yeah, you also got Bennett there too. That's
so.
Bennett still needs to prove that he is a number. He can play center, because right now he's just the wing, and he played
that mustache though, man. Holy shit!
I know, fantastic.
That even gets me going, man.
On par. Woo! On par. But I don't know. I just see Derek Ryan as we'll let him go after this year. He has 1 year left. And I do think that we should hang on to Backlund for at least another year if you want to trade him. very underrated center, shutdown center, and I mean, you probably get a decent amount for him, especially in this offseason. But I usually I'm on par with you, Kev, but not this time, man.
I know that there's going to be. I said that there's going to be people that disagree with me, but I can see. I can see a space where you can trade a backline to get something.
Trade a center, any center, except for our right winger in Lindholm.
He's a player, man.
Yeah.
Should be Matthew Tkachuk and Valimaki at this point. Other than that, I'm open-minded.
So I just want to make a note. Sean kind of went off on all my notes of exactly what I was going to say about each player.
What an asshole!
Fuck. I'm just waiting. You guys were talking about the Canucks, and I just let him go, and I let him go, and then all of a sudden he just takes all my points away. Anyways,
brotherly love.
Yeah, seriously. So I think our top four going forward is Gio, Hanifin, Anderson, and Tanev, but I really do believe that if Valimaki is going at the pace that he is right now over in Finland, there's argument over there that he is the best player in that league. And that said, I know it's not the NHL, but that's saying
it's a good league.
Lot.
Yeah, it's a good league.
Absolutely. And it's saying a hell of a lot, especially him coming off of a knee surgery. That's absolutely amazing. And I could see him a top four pairing of Anderson and Valimaki going forward. And if that's your top pairing defense within the next 2 to 3 years, God, you talk about something getting someone going right here. That's getting me going. I love it.
You look at what Tanev did this past year with being the safety valve for Quinn Hughes. I could see if I was looking at making pairs next year, and if Valimaki comes in and is playing really well, why don't you try Valimaki with Tanev as a pairing? Because
I agree, but I feel like Hanifin needs it more right now. If you're going for a young defender that needs that level of confidence and that, like, because
those minutes and the minutes, right? Because like you're not going to throw Valimaki with those minutes if you have, no Hanifin there.
Totally, and Hanifin, I feel like he has so much potential and upside. And if you want to have, I feel like Valimaki will be able to carry himself and carry his confidence forward. I don't think he needs it. It'd be beneficial for sure, but I feel like Hanifin needs it more than Valimaki does.
Okay. Did we talk about Jake's contract?
Whose contract?
Jake's?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay. I think this was also my theory is was plan Z.5. I honestly don't think the Canucks I don't think the Canucks desired to bring Virtanen back, but when Toffoli left, I think they were in a bind that they had to do it. I think Benning's comments about Virtanen throughout the year are interesting. I mean, it's a fair deal, I guess, but I still think I don't know where we are with Jake Virtanen. I'm not entirely convinced that the Canucks are going to be totally excited bringing Jake Virtanen into the top six.
I don't think they'll put him in there to start, but in this, textbook Jake Virtanen way, he's going to go back down to 10 minutes and be in Travis Green's doghouse. Like, I don't know. I tried to give this player, all my vote of confidence as a Canucks fan, as a guy who watches hockey and covers hockey. He's not that great of a player. Like he's a fine NHL player, but he's not where, he's not to the pedigree of where his draft or where he was selected in the draft. He's not the player he was with the Calgary Hitmen on that team, just being the guy who can score and knock everyone down. And quite frankly, he has all the tools in his belt. Some players just can't do it, can't put it together. And I think that's him. And those tools will carry him in the NHL for him to have a very nice career and for him to respectively make millions of dollars, but he's never going to sign that big contract. He's never going to be a bona fide top six. And I really hope he puts it together. And this is coming from a guy who says, like, Jake Virtanen's a guy who can put up 18 goals. But realistically, boys, not all those goals were pretty. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a goal scorer. He got a little lucky this year.
And he's not consistent either.
Oh, hell no.
Neither was his spot in the lineup.
Fair, but at the same time, for the most part, I agree with Isha in this regard. Like, he's kind of, I feel like just the whole Shotgun Jake thing kind of maybe overinflated his sort of persona, if you will. But yeah,
A little bit.
yeah, he's a decent third line guy. Just as far as confidence of him being on that second line all season long, I don't have the confidence there.
So you're not willing to try him out on the first line?
Oh,
Fuck
I'm willing to.
No.
No, I'm willing to just based off the fact that what else do you have? Like at this point, are you willing to throw Louis Eriksson back into the top six? Please no.
No.
Yeah, but the thing is, Virtanen makes too many mistakes that it's too risky to put him up there.
Well, the thing is, it's like you play him with Miller and Pettersson.
And he's not going to be in the
What
right.
I was going to say.
Dude,
Thank you.
No, because he's not going to be in the right spots. He's not smart enough of a player. And sorry, Jakey, he's not smart enough a player to play with them.
He's not Burrows in that regard.
You remember when they threw him with the Sedins? And I know that's a crazy big comparison to a Pettersson and Miller, but it looked terrible. And I know he was young, and maybe this isn't the strongest argument, but we've seen him play with the elite talent, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
This is your standard Judge Joey argument, Isha, where you're just
My standard.
Like, I don't know. I think you give him the chance. Let him prove
Dude,
he can't be that guy, and then move on from him. Whatever.
He's been given enough chances, man.
Carter opportunity.
No, he wasn't. He barely got a chance last year.
Okay.
Yeah, with Virtanen, like you're not going to throw him with Horvat because Horvat gets the tougher minutes. You're not, and you're going to throw Besser on that line. Pearson, Horvat, and Besser is going to be a line, and then you're going to have Miller and Pettersson, and you're going to throw Virtanen on there because he's got the highest ceiling as what we can in terms of what you can expect in terms of offense. If you can put together that line and somehow Jake can figure it out, and he can figure out how to actually forecheck properly. That's all he needs.
Please.
It's just forecheck, and then Pettersson and Miller are going to find him, and he's going to release that shot. Like that's
what Hoppy and Sean are saying is what I should do is switch out Bess and Jake right now.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Gives you a much more balanced top six.
If it doesn't work, then they have to move on to something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying lock it in for the whole year, but give him 10 games, and if it works, awesome. You look like a genius. If it doesn't, great. You've proven that Virtanen's not your guy.
You look like a genius. It's like, no, it's more like it's about fucking time, Virtanen. Like, that's more what it's like.
You clearly don't know the Vancouver market like I do, Isha.
Oh, clearly.
I'm kind of with Isha here. I think he's been given a lot of. I understand why you want to put him there, but that's not your top option. Like he can't be anymore. He's been given so many chances after.
So we're going to continue to fuck over Horvat just nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, no pillow to bite on. Who cares? No lube. Suck it.
The way things are setting up though is like on the right side, either that or you're playing Horvat with McEwen on the right side and Pearson on the left.
Well, Sean, this goes back to my point, full circle from earlier. This year's a fucking write-off because they don't have the room to build around the core. It's just the way.
So if it's a write-off, Isha, why don't you see if Virtanen can handle big boy minutes?
Sure, I don't care. I'm just saying I don't like the player there. Like I don't care. Like I've given up on him.
I already know the answer to that question.
Okay. How about this though? As on the right side in the top six is moving Gaudette to the wing.
I would actually prefer that more than Virtanen. Actually,
You play Gaudette in that.
I would like to see that.
Yeah,
I would try Gaudette with Pettersson and Miller, and see what happens.
Sure.
So does that mean Sutter comes back in? Beagle moves up. Like who takes Gaudette's spot then?
Yes.
That would be a Sutter, Jace Howrlock battle at camp. Might likely Sutter though.
Okay.
As far as green confidence, yeah.
Here in a quick second, but since Devin has to go here pretty quickly, I do want to get his take on kind of where we're starting. I want to kind of get into that conversation a little bit about playing Lake Louise. When does the season start? This Canadian division make sure we get Devin's opinion on that, and then like we can hop back to Virtanen to close this. But I did want to make sure that I get Devin's take. So we'll kind of. I'm going to start by saying this already, and I know that this is not going to be a popular opinion, and I'm not going to be defended by anybody on here, but I'm actually opposed to the All-Canadian division. I think logistically, I know from a fan perspective, everyone would love it. There's a lot of fun in it, But Isha made the point already that Vancouver is going to have to travel a hell of a lot. That's one huge problem. If you're playing in Ottawa and Toronto, there's some OHL, there's some Ontario rules that are going to have to be dealt with here about whether you can actually play hockey appropriately. And that may land in the NHL. I'm not, don't put past the Ontario government to say you're not, hang on, let me finish. And the other thing that nobody's talked about yet is how are trades going to be made?
Quarantine.
Quarantine. Not that hard.
But in terms of the Ontario bullshit,
thank you.
It is bullshit.
They're talking about kids playing junior hockey as opposed to adults making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. They will make it. They played in Toronto in a bubble there. They'll make it happen.
And it was still a hot spot.
And Kevin, the bigger thing for me, this is not a fan thing. I don't think most Canadians want an all Canadian division.
Fuck
this
no.
Is flat out the border.
Yeah, this is Trudeau,
you cannot
baby.
cross US to Canada. The only reason there is discussion of a Canadian bubble is because of the border. That's it.
And just before Devin can get in there, because I think this
is for him. Yeah,
because fuck Devin.
Devin's never gonna invite us back on the podcast.
Before Devin can go off on his whole thing. In Calgary, they're actually testing out or a pilot project of rapid testing of COVID for in Calgary International, as well as tracking for the next week after. So if
with a minimized quarantine.
Yeah, they're to minimize quarantine. If that happens, then we don't necessarily have to have the Canadian division. But the only reason the Canadian division is in there is because the border. Like if the border can't be fixed, the Canadian division is happening until the border is fixed.
Go ahead, Devin.
Thanks, Kevin. That's so nice of you. God. Well, okay, I'm going to be positive. Let's be fucking positive for once.
All
Good
right.
Lord. Enough of this negativity bullshit. All right. I love the idea of a Canadian division. It's been knocked around for years about potentially having that to be actually legitimate, not in a COVID year or any type of pandemic way. And I love the idea of it. You know what? In amidst all this fucking chaos that we live in, I think it's a fantastic idea. Yes, it's unfortunate. Yes, it's not ideal. And yes, Vancouver, once again, oh no, poor Vancouver. You have to fucking fly everywhere. Who gives a shit? Like the thing is that like, it's going to be a condensed schedule. They won't have as many games, but you're going to be flying to a place and playing 3 games, like 2 to 3 games within 3 to 4 days. So I don't see it as big of an issue as some Canucks fans on fucking here. And I love the idea of it. I really do. Thinking about, I think Ottawa, you know, people are shitting on Ottawa. I think that they have a legit team. Matt Murray, backstopping them. I truly believe that with DJ Smith as their head coach, they'll work their ass off. They'll be able to be not a contender, but they'll surprise you. They will surprise you. And especially with, you know, you have Thomas Chabot on the end there. And one of my new favorite players since he came in the league, Brady Tkachuk. I love the Tkachuks. And I love the idea of the camaraderie, and think about the TV as well. How many views that's going to freaking get. It's going to be ridiculous. And I love it. So I don't agree with Kevin in thinking that it'll be potentially brought up from, or that the government of Ontario is going to step in and make it so that it's mandatory, so that the NHL players can't hit or anything like that. That's not going to be the case at all. So I appreciate everybody shutting up and letting me talk. Thank you very much.
You're the man, Devin.
Dream.
I just want to say that's an Isha level of confidence on the Ottawa Senators there.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm sorry, Jay Fresh, as Isha already referenced, like Detroit actually got marginally better. Ottawa actually got worse this offseason, which they don't care because they're looking at the long term, but like they did not get any better this offseason except for maybe the addition of Matt Murray, which I love Matt Murray to death.
Show him the bobblehead.
Wild card. Huge wild card.
Dadonov was a good signing for Ottawa, and
That was the one.
And I'm really glad that Devin knows that the B in B Kachuk stands for better, and he likes the better Kachuk.
Oh,
That's not what I said at all. You're putting words in my mouth, you son of a bitch.
Well, also, Devin, so talking from the Toronto perspective, like, of course you fucking love the Canadian bubble. You're getting away from Boston and Tampa. You're thrilled.
Yes. That's one of the things.
Zero bias in this argument saying that the Canadian.
Yeah, there's been no bias in this entire podcast. I just want to say, everybody.
Yeah, zero bias.
None whatsoever.
That's a good name for this episode. Zero bias.
Zero bias.
I will say the one thing Devin did bring up that I completely agree with and I see happening is the cutting down on travel as much as possible.
Yeah.
And we will see Toronto fly out, play 2 games in Vancouver, which would be amazing because
Wow, 2 whole games.
A Thursday, Saturday, or even a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, Vancouver, Toronto. The social media and standard media shitstorm that's going to happen with that will be pure entertainment.
Epic.
Twitch Twitter would love Steve Simmons. Like,
Oh God. See, this is where Hoppy has no reaction because he's like, "Who?"
I don't care about that. I just think it should be 3 games instead of 2 because then you can go into it like a small mini series where every time you can pick a winner of each series.
Yeah.
If you split 1 and 1, like what the fuck do you talk about?
yeah, you're gonna have to think about this scheduling wise, gambling wise, in terms of the schedule.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because I think the NHL's like embrace that.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually with State of Hoppy on this one. Yeah, let's do 3-game miniseries as like baseball style as opposed to like back-to-backs.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. And Gary Bettman, he's all about making money. He'll jump on that.
I just
Especially
think
now that they've embraced Vegas betting. Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We haven't seen a Vancouver Toronto series since 1994 when the Canucks won. So,
Greg Adams.
Greg Adams.
well, then you also get the bat. You could get the battle. But I mean, there are pros. You could get finally get a Battle of Alberta playoff series as well.
Well, no, it's not even a playoff series. Could you imagine a Battle of Alberta best 3-game series in the
Best
middle
of 3, baby. Yes.
Oh man.
Oh, somebody.
Here we go.
Especially if Cassian and Kachuk are going at it.
The amount of suspensions that are going to come out of Alberta this year is going to be insane.
But the real question here, guys, most importantly, is Markstrom going to be enough of a big boy to throw down with Smith when that happens?
Hell yeah, he is.
Talbot's gone. Talbot's gone. We don't know.
Markstrom
Jacob is in. Yeah, I have full confidence in Markstrom.
He's a fire character. He'll do it. But honestly, right off that topic, as I was trying to get in there, could you imagine if that it was a mini series when that goalie fight happened?
Game 1. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just juicy. It'd be amazing. Come on, we need to see that. I want
Bring on the TV ratings.
I'm glad only one person has said it. It's only Chris so far, but thank you all for endorsing my idea. It makes me feel very good.
Well, actually, when you said it, I'm starting to think even when we're back to normal, this actually there's some merit to your argument.
Well, I think before all this even happened, I think it was one of the Chicago beat writers on The Athletic talked with Jonathan Taves about something similar about trying to make the travel of the NHL and the schedule a little more green and do stuff like that. And I think that's what they're definitely gonna be looking into.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the Taves schedule, look that up. It is something that is out there, and I think it is something that they are going to be looking into, because you look at how everyone is trying to become greener and
sustainable and whatnot. Yeah.
You think about it, how many times is we'll go to Vancouver because it's Vancouver and San Jose that have the most ridiculous travel schedules. Throw in Seattle next year. You're going to have to, it's really tough. How many times have they gone from fly out from Vancouver to Boston, then down to Columbus, over to Columbus, and then down to the Florida and all that. And there's definitely going to be ways that they're going to try and make it a little more green. I mean, Seattle's going to actually demand that because apparently you have to bring your own water to the
Climate Change Arena or Climate Pledge Arena.
The Kraken will eat you if you bring your water.
But going back to that 3-game series, like Devin too, for like Montreal and Toronto, like that'll be huge, right? And even I think this would work in the Senators' favor as well to try to rekindle some of those rivalries with Montreal and Toronto respectively as well. So yeah, no, Hoppy, we're all picking up what you're putting down here.
I can see Hockey Night in Canada potentially Sportsnet fighting that a little bit because Montreal, Toronto, they want that. Those games are always going to be on a Saturday.
Well, you know what? We'll get TSN to pump this idea to them in the scheduling, and then maybe TSN will get the rights back anyways, and we can all start breathing again.
Throwing in the Wild too, like that would be a great way to actually kindle up the Winnipeg Minnesota rivalry. That should be something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It already kind of is something. Like if you actually go to a Wild game when Winnipeg's in town, you would be shocked how many people show up. Like it's pretty interesting.
That's good.
It's on par with believe it or not, Toronto and Tampa is the craziest. You get all the fucking snowbirds that go down there. I went to a Tampa Toronto game in Tampa, and it was more than half Toronto fans. And this is when Tampa was like actually a decent team.
Wow.
That's it. Same here in Calgary. I went to my first Calgary Flames Toronto Maple Leafs game, and I love both teams equally. And so I the first time, actually, well, it was the second time ever because I went to Rogers Place and was a rival team inside of an arena, and I thought it was awesome. But yeah, I went there, and they're at least, it was super, super close to 50-50 blue sweaters to red sweaters. But boys, it's been lovely. I love you all, and I will see you guys later.
Talk to you soon, Devin.
I just soon,
boys.
Cheers.
Follow him, Gord Now 09. Maybe we should have a replacement. Should we have a line change here?
Yeah,
hold on. But before we do this, we all know who the number one center is. This guy.
Heidi's joined us as
hello.
Where are we at here? I
listened to this whole thing, by the way.
We're at 2 hours, Kevin. That's where we're at.
Also, the IQ of this group just went up exponentially.
Oh. I mean, I won't disagree.
So, Hoppy, from your perspective, though, I guess from the States, what are you thinking? Like, are you thinking an all Central Division would be fun? What are you like in terms of that? And what? I guess the other big question in all of this is, when does this season actually start?
That's the real question everyone's asking, man. Like, as of now, best case scenario is January 1st, which, like, let's be real, that's optimistic. But I'll shout out a friend of our podcast, Brett Marshall, who's done a ton of stuff analytically out there. If you want to check out his stuff, it's at B_Marsh92. If you want to look at the WAR plus GSVA composite for your team and see how the lineup slots in with any trades you might want to make for yourself, whatever. But he's the one that actually came up with divisions. Again, there's going to be a Canadian division under what we assume right now. And then there was a Great Lakes division that was pretty interesting. You get pretty much all the teams right around the Great Lakes. You get Pittsburgh and Philly, you get Columbus, you get Minnesota, Chicago, and like it makes sense geographically. I don't know. It honestly ends up being a pretty soft division by and large, but I don't mind that being here for the Wild and the Penguins. So, hey, I'm on board. And I mean, Great Lakes, it sounds pretty cool, but
if we're doing one-off season divisions, let's go all out.
Exactly. Hey, but I don't know. It's hard to say what to expect for next year. All I can say is I actually randomly at the grocery store recognized Bill Guerin in a mask, and he's very gung-ho about getting asses in seats. Like, it's not going to be full capacity by any means, but he seems pretty optimistic that we're going to be able to find a way to get fans in the building. Maybe not right away, but it's not going to be in that tall of order. It's going to happen at some point this year. So
by the way, Hoppy told the story on the Soda Pod, one of the last episodes of his encounter with Garen, and this guy's such to further, illustrate how much of a beauty this guy is.
Cool guy.
Both of Hoppy and his wife's respectively had to pull them away from each other because they just kept talking hockey. This guy's one of the boys, man. And he's a general manager of a fucking NHL team.
That reminds me of when Chris and I got to meet Dana Merzen.
Oh yeah.
He was again, shout out to the Pigaduke and our buddy Steven Loudon, who both Isha and Hoppy, if you ever get into Calgary, we'll take you there and we'll make sure that you get quote unquote Loudened. Yeah, it's everything you think it is.
Fucking right. Hey, I may be there sooner than Hoppy, but we got to bring him to the western side of Canada soon.
Yeah,
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Dana was someone who just loved to talk and was someone who would just continue to tell stories of
Stories on stories on stories.
The stories he told about like Gino and and as well as showing off his Calgary Flames Stanley Cup ring. But it was really good. Like anytime you get a chance to get these guys talking, I think they love telling these stories, especially if you get behind the superficial stuff part. And that night we were taken to the game, which was Flames versus Detroit. Mike Commodore was there.
Oh, nice.
Lanny McDonald was there. The guy who tried to play soccer in 1988, which led the Flames to winning the cup, Joel Otto. He kicked it in. Decided to grace us with his presence as well. So
Can you get Sean a crying towel, please?
But yeah, it's a lot of fun to get. If you ever get a chance, like don't go up and like yell at tell me a story. But you ever get a chance to like ask about like some of the behind the scenes stuff, it's insane, especially for these guys.
Not sure how well it'll show, but
yeah,
that's the group photo.
Yeah, Dana.
Oh, nice,
dude.
And I hate the Blackhawks like nothing else in this world, but there's a guy for Barstool Chief, that had on their Red Line Radio podcast, brought on Stan Bowman, who he has like publicly ripped for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Bowman finally came on and was just like, let's fucking do this. Here we go. Fucking great listen. Like Bowman actually, like, he gained points in my book, not only just going on there, but he actually like sounded a lot smarter than I thought he might sound. So
again,
it's fun.
Also that same night, not to pull out names, but yeah,
not to brag, but I'm bragging.
Fucking the mustache himself.
Not to brag, but a legend of the game.
Yeah,
that mustache is right up there with Bo Bennett. Holy
yeah. Speaking of meeting NHL players, I don't know how much time we have left here, but Hoppy has a good one where he almost convinced Jason Zucker that he was traded out of Minnesota. Straight up, the guy went stone cold faced. Hoppy, tell this one. This one's good.
What the people want. So he's actually like, him and his wife, everyone in Minnesota knows, are super involved in the community. They do a bunch of different fundraisers for some of the different charities that they're a part of. And out here on Lake Minnetonka, which is like different world for drinking and just being stupid, Lord Fletcher's is where they held their one of their fundraisers with actually Minnesota Viking Kyle Rudolph. And it was literally playing a bunch of drinking games and seeing if your team of 4 could win. And I mean, we're an unnamed amount of drinks in, and I decided to go up to him because this is when the rumors just started flying of Zucker potentially being traded. And me and my buddy, who happens to be a Sabres fan, which, like, let's be real, that's for a while one of the saddest places to go. We just started asking him, like, oh my God, man, like, what do you think of Eichel? What do you think of like the future potential of this team? Like, how do you think you'd play with him? And he's like looking at us like, are you guys fucking retarded? Like, what is happening here? And finally, I'm just like, oh my God, you didn't hear? And his face just glosses over. I'm like, oh my God, like, you didn't see what Bob McKenzie tweeted? He's like, dude, I'm a big boy. Just lay it on me. And like, I just paused for like 10 seconds. I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. There's no news. Will you take a picture with me?
Jeez.
You did. So
Oh man, almost convinced him.
he was quite convinced. He was very worried.
Well, he ended up getting traded anyway, so it was
Yeah.
Hey, he upgraded.
He got traded to the Flames, and because the facts didn't go through, that didn't happen, and then he ended up getting
That was
traded.
pretty funny.
Poor guy. Heidi, what's going on?
Hi. So by the way, if you guys want to know what I'm drinking,
Absolutely.
I am drinking the Earl's Ale, Earl Grey Tea Pale Ale from Bourne, Colorado.
Nice.
This is one of I just tried this last weekend. We were at Bourne, Colorado, and it's like one of my now favorite beers that I've ever had. So I love Earl Grey tea. So the flavors in this are amazing.
Heidi, Salt Spring Brewing, and I don't know if they distribute out to Calgary yet. They probably, I'm sure they do. They
don't.
Oh, they don't. Okay, well,
Sadly.
I'll put it on my list. I'll bring you. They have an Earl Grey summer seasonal one too, and I'll put it on my list for when I come out next summer. I'll bring you some because it's unbelievable.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing beer. Amazing beer. I love it so much. It's kind of like drinking iced tea.
As far as Earl Grey, though, their ale architect out of Edmonton has an Earl Grey IPA.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's similar to what Salt Spring does. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, last weekend we were out enjoying the support local sort of initiative that all the breweries down in the one area here in Calgary that we've affectionately dubbed the Brewery Belt, but ended up getting bought up by Labatt's. That now is argumentative on what you can call it. But yeah, it was great. We went to, like I said, Bourne, Colorado. So a couple that grew up in Colorado and moved to Calgary started up a brewery. They're doing some fantastic work, and it was really awesome to see people out supporting small businesses here in Calgary when it's tough.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with Heidi in terms of how good that beer is too. It's a really nice. All the Earl Grey flavors play really well off of the malt bill and the hops. So it's a really nice light drinking but flavorful beer.
Yeah, it's definitely crushable too. It's definitely one of those ones that you can have multiple. It's only 6% though, so it's not like a danger.
You're talking to an American, so that's dangerous. They drink like the 3% down there.
3 and 4%. Yeah.
So
I can't wait till you're here, Isha, to go toe to toe.
Yeah. Well, OT Brewing, which was mentioned earlier here, they had a double IPA out over the summer, and I called it Danger IPA because it was 9%.
It was 9%.
Yeah, the bump set, yeah.
Yeah, it drank like you were drinking maybe a 6%.
Wow.
Alcoholic juice, that's what it was.
It tasted like juice. So it was, you would have I would have too. I don't have as good of a tolerance as other people. If I had 2 of them, I was just done. So
amazing. I can't wait to dip my feet into that when I come out east, or a little bit more east.
yeah. Well,
You say out east in Canada and they're like, Ontario?
So once we're done here, because of, again, it's apparently winter in October, we are going to be cracking a nice beer that is actually only 10%. It's the Old Man Winter Porter out of from Ribstone Creek out of Edgerton, Alberta, tiny little small town. But one of the times that Isha was on, we were actually driving up there.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
It's going to be a great beer to have for a nice cold day.
yeah.
By the way, I don't know how many of you are UFC fans, but Khabib just won.
He retired, by the way.
Yeah, well, didn't Conor McGregor retired 2 months ago, and now he's back?
That guy's got going anyway. He's a moneymaker.
I love Khabib, so I'm pumped.
Is there any other topics we need to, Heidi, was there anything like for you that you heard that you wanted to kind of talk about?
I was upset that you were talking about trading Ryan, and then I was even
No,
more.
I didn't. I said I don't want to trade Derek.
You guys in general were talking about. I heard Devin say it. I heard somebody else say it. I'm sure. I'm actually surprised Sean didn't notice it. Like, because I was only like 15 feet away, and I was like, no, you can't talk about it. And then when Kevin talked about trading Backlund, I also there's an inside joke of Kevin hates puppies, and that's actually what I yelled. I'm sad that didn't pick up in the, in the mic. I can't believe he would talk about trading Backlund. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. But
okay, so the story behind Kevin hates puppies is that Kevin seems to think that the Flames need a new mascot.
Yeah.
Because Harvey the Hound isn't good enough. So.
Yeah,
Let me now defend myself and actually give you the accurate.
Nope, that's where the episode ends, folks. It was great.
Kevin said it. Kevin wanted a new mascot, and I said, "Well, then you must hate dogs and you must hate puppies." And so it's been since then. He hates Harvey.
So when the Flames brought back their new jerseys, someone on this podcast, Heidi, was hoping that Blasty would come back, and Blasty's not back. But I suggested that they bring
Blasty will be back.
Blasty as a mascot. She said no, and I thought, well, that's how this whole I hate dogs come from. But I'm like, Blasty would be a great mascot for the Flames.
But you don't get rid of Harvey. Harvey is the original NHL mascot. You do not get rid of Harvey.
And he also pissed off Craig McTavish so much that he pulled out his tongue.
Yeah.
I literally just got the picture up.
Also, Harvey is the only mascot that doesn't wear a shirt.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You have my attention.
Oh man, I found another picture of him holding up a mini Harvey. This is getting wild. I don't know if it's the beer or if it's just the Flames, but it's getting wild.
That's one of the Oilers' top 10 moments, actually. If you go in Oilers history, that's.
Craig McTavish ripping out his tongue, really?
Toronto, it's Domi, fighting the fan. In Calgary, it's McTavish. Well, of course, it's something McTavish, or Edmonton rather, something McTavish, and Harvey the Hound.
Watch the lawsuit, Ty. Watch the lawsuit.
Watch the lawsuit. That's Harry Neal's best line.
Yeah.
Okay, I
think we're done.
Yeah. We are well over 2 hours at this point.
2.5 hours. I got to pee again.
Anything I wanted to ask Heidi, because she just jumped on, wanted to give an opinion on the All-Canadian division. Are you for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the reasons that they said, I heard Tkachuk versus Tkachuk, and I don't know if you saw Sean going like this, like looking off to the camera. He was trying to say that Brady was the better Tkachuk, which is definitely not true. And I will die on that.
The B stands for better.
No, it does not.
Brady.
Yes.
All right, let's leave it here. How do we follow everyone?
I am BeardyConnect03 on Twitter.
I am at Heidi Maceballs on all social media.
I'm at Schneids on most social media.
I'm at VI Sports Talk, but you might as well just follow at HockeyPodNet. And of course, Hoppy and I host the Soda Pod at the Soda Pod.
You can find me at State of Hoppy.
And there's Tyler, TNOBLE. Devin is GordHowe09. He does post pictures of his dog. We're podcast_hockey. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube if you watched. Thank you. Subscribe Apple, iTunes, Google, iHeartRadio. These episodes will be out on podcast probably tonight or tomorrow. And that's it. Isha, Hoppy, thanks for joining us. It was a lot of fun. We'll have you on again. Fans, thank you. Everyone else, thank you. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.